All right, I think we are. I think we're live, or we've been live, but I think everyone's here. Um, it's nice to have another stream, and we're excited to have a new episode of the podcast tonight. And we have a lot of guests tonight that we're excited to hear their opinions and thoughts on different matters. Okay, so. Who shall I introduce first? I guess Red Wet Skeleton or Eli. Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Nice to be here as always.
Perfect.
Completely ignored Mr. Pink. It looked like he was excited to be called out, but nope.
Well, it's coming. All right. Next, I'm happy to say hi to Juniper or Voxmorbus.
Hello.
Nice
to be on here. Thank you very much.
And okay, next, Modern Synthesis or Nick. Hey, Nick. Uh-oh. I think. Oh,
What?
Oh.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Hey, Modern Synthesis, Nick.
It's getting a little jittery, but I can kind of still hear you guys.
Okay.
Hi.
Thank you, Internet. All right, and then we have another friend, Nick, and this Cordal.
Yep. Hello.
Hey. All right, so we have people from all over the place, from America, Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom.
Yeah, it's a good group.
All right, so I guess we can, as we normally do, we can start out with our hobby happenings section. In terms of what I've been working on, which I think I've talked about it in streams previously, I don't have too much to say. I'm working on Christmas cards.
Christmas is soon upon us.
Christmas/holiday cards. I've done a bunch of them. I still have tons more that I have to do, but they're going okay. Eric, I guess.
As is often the case, I talk about things that I've done that I've been working on for weeks, and the same goes for this one. But I finished painting that old Chaos Sorcerer model, and I think it was just put up on the blog too. So I'm happy to have finished that little interesting character. So
he looks good.
Kind of fits with the rest of. Yeah, so that's what I've been working on, and I don't know what I'll move on to next.
All right,
that's the next set of burn trees.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I need to get, I guess, the other one, and then paint it over the course of a month so I can continually talk about it.
Actually, nice to have you here tonight, Lifeboat. Yeah, this stream is international. There are people from all over. Okay.
For some, it's a more reasonable time than others.
You don't say.
Yeah, Nick, I'm sorry, but
I know it's all right. I'm a grad student. I don't need sleep.
Yeah, you'll sleep when you're dead.
Man, and I was complaining when it was Vampire Clock at 11 o'clock Eastern. That's rough if you're in the UK.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
So I guess does anyone else in the stream is there anything you've been working on that you'd like to speak on or talk about? I think most of us have done some stuff.
I've been plugging away at the Sisters of Battle box.
Let me try and find. I have pictures somewhere. Oh, here we go. Here's.
I sent you I just spammed you with pictures over the course of the past 2 weeks. But I was trying to make based on sort of the mythology of the Black Templars, so taking a bit of visual motifs from them. And the color scheme is basically directly ripped from the 3rd edition John Blanche Black Templars art, which, of course it looks good because John Blanche did the color scheme for it. So yeah, I've just been chipping away at them, trying to get a model done a week or so.
A model a week. That's a
basically
good goal.
Yeah,
You'll
it's a
have
good
it
it'll
be done in
cease
this?
once my holidays are done.
I
Yeah,
hear
we'll
that.
see about that.
I hear that.
Yeah, that Black Templar cover was like a pretty iconic thing, and I feel it sort of shaped a lot of people's impression of Warhammer 40,000 and such, and it's nice to see kind of that brought to life,
Yeah,
kind of
like
in another form.
the
Yeah.
kind of dull drab yellows. I always really like that, and I think they go really well with the like blacks and reds and stuff. And like I feel you don't really often see it that much, particularly the drab yellows, and I quite like them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think having yellow things makes them quite distinct compared to basically everything everyone else is doing, who's kind of just doing metal colored bolters from what I can see.
Yeah,
It's a nice spot color.
agreed. I think Nick Turgejo, you've
Yes.
been doing some stuff on some of the new Chaos releases, right?
So I just finished my Demon Prince conversion last week. Just painted that up, not based, but the Greek Demon Prince, because I suddenly got on like a whole like ancient history hype thing, and I've just started building the start collecting box for the Slaves to Darkness. So I'm slowly converting them, removing all the egregious spikes and whatnot, and adding crests and trying to give like a Mycenaean Iliad / theme to Chaos, because I'm a bit bored of it's Chaos, everyone must be like gribbly and horrible, and I'm like, what would an ordinary city that worships Chaos maybe look like, and maybe worship a god in a form that isn't all like blood and skulls and stuff like that, because there's got to be that sort of like starting step before you become a frothing murder maniac.
That's true. You would think that.
Yeah.
That would make sense. And I think it's an interesting look, and I like it, like the little like helmet plumes and whatnot. Like I feel you don't really see that too much with Chaos. Like if anything, if they have anything, it's more like the orc like hair squig type deals.
Or more horns than you can shake a stick at.
It's true.
That's probably more. That's closer to the truth. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they can IP that. That's their IP, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
You know, I think that on the note of like civilizations worshipping Chaos, the old Dark Elves were kind of like that. Like they had like temples dedicated to like Cain and Slanesh and stuff like that, but they weren't completely and utterly fucked up.
That's actually true.
Mhm.
That is true. Like, I feel a lot of those older ranges, like, I feel they've almost largely been forgotten, which is a little unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting that reprint of the Slaves to Darkness Realm of Chaos book was very eye-opening. I definitely think they missed a trick with the Chaos Space Marines. They look so much better in that art than, it's spiky Marines now.
It's a shame I didn't release that reprint in like a wider release, because I would have liked to get that, I feel.
Well, next
Maybe
time I'm
someday.
at Warhammer World, I'll pick you up a copy and send it to the US.
Yeah, okay. Well, that would be cool, yeah, because I feel all that there was a lot more character and interest in some of that stuff when they weren't so worried about fitting this one particular image that has been developed over the years and just did more different things.
Oh,
The
hey,
Warband
Captain Timbaland.
Those books were so good.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
a lot of
true.
the older books, I feel they were a lot more imaginative. And I mean, I guess in the really early books, they were still kind of trying to figure out what they wanted to do, and the directions and stuff they wanted to go in. So, like, there was some really weird stuff there.
Even
I want to say Slaves of Darkness, that's the first time they had the history of the Horus Heresy at all. Like, other than just like a mentioning.
Hey, Meandering Shade.
I think with the old stuff, even it had a lot more character in like the filler art, and you get weird Ian Miller moon creatures.
Oh yeah.
It was like really cool black and white art pieces, and now everything is like a lot more homogenized for the most part, I feel.
Bring back biomechanical horror Space Marines.
Yeah.
Bring
Yes.
back H.R. Geiger
Yes.
Marines.
Bring more Space Marines. We need more and more Space Marines.
Okay, maybe not, but
Bring them all in.
But if you're gonna do Chaos Space Marines, that would be a nice change
better
of
thing.
pace.
I did one of those.
You did, actually.
It's true. Actually, Mr. Pink, what have you been working on?
I was gonna say I wanted to hear what Eli's been working on.
Just saving the best for last, Mr. Pink. All right.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I'm like, what about Eli?
I've been working on that Tech Priest. I guess just forever. I guess it's just what I do now, forever. And then I'll die.
Your white whale.
He's your
been
birth
perfecting
tree.
the Tech Priest?
Yeah. It's a pretty much the idea is like at one point in time he was like an archmagos biologist, but at this point he's kind of like Gestapo inquisitor for like the Forge World Phaeton. So like when they send out an explorator fleet, this is the guy that they would put on there to be their eyes and ears to make sure that none of the explorator magos get too off the beaten path, and if they do, well, this guy's really good at literally dissecting anything that's alive, typically while they're alive. So he's just got lots of blade and syringe fingers and boring drills and bone saws. I guess, as you do, yeah. And he had some creepy syringe fingers, but even though they're really small, they just are too damn big. So I took them off and I found some smaller syringe.
Oh.
Yeah.
The bionic
Independent
arms you're working
one,
on
but-
for him, like, are these like little brass monstrosities? They look good.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
I
tiny.
pretty much bought a shit ton of watch parts and then brass sheeting. So like anything that you see that's like brass is actually like I cut brass and like have put it in like a pair of pliers or like a vise and have just used a bunch of different diamond files to like sand it down and give it like sharp edges and stuff like that. And then I'm just really trying to make sure that like all the gears line up so it would be actually like functional, how like his limbs would move, which has been very enjoyable, but also awful. And then after Eric mentioned that his other hand was a little too big, I was like,
Eric, you dick.
Yeah, it was
and then I was like, the syringe,
It wasn't even the syringe hand. It was the other
it wasn't
one.
the syringe hand. But then
my
I looked
God.
at the syringe hand and I was like, the syringe hand is also big. And then I was like, you know what? It would be pretty hard to torture people if you couldn't hold anything in your hand. And I was like, he needs to be able to like his fingers like split apart and the syringes and blades come out of the fingers. So the only logical thing to do is to cut off the hands and do it again.
Oh
make it
my
smaller.
god.
Can
That's
we make a
what I
rule
would-
that
that's
Eric
what I
doesn't
would
get
do.
to? Can we get a rule that Eric doesn't get to tell Eli what to scratch sculpt until Eric gets to scratch sculpt something himself?
Yeah.
To understand how horrible it is.
Well,
I think
Well,
I like it at this point. That's the awful part. Is I'm just like, man, I like doing stuff that's just awful.
I just now, whenever I'm gluing a gun on, I just have a vision like a force ghost behind me of the brothers Weir, like just shaking their heads, and I'm like, I put the gun on the table and start cutting it and making it more reasonably
It's like,
sized.
what the fuck, Nick?
Shaving
My
down the
level of
feet.
sadness, like the first time I made a gun, like how pleased I was with it was like, I was like, man, I made such a small gun. And then I sent it and Greg was just like, there is way too much distance between the magazine and the ejection port. I was just like, I'm so dumb. You're right, Greg. And like it was a slow process where now like I do it and it's just like, this is an accurate firearm. I have done a good job. Now on to the next project.
Now on to make some hands, which Eric will say aren't good and should come off.
Exactly.
Nah, but the hands were good.
No, the
Just
hand
replace
was
everything
good.
with orc hands.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The hands were good, but I know who I am, and I know that like now that I have these smaller, little, awful syringe-looking things that I found, I'm just like, if I didn't just do it now, I would finish them, and I would be like, man, I fucked up. I should have switched those out months ago. And my wife came downstairs, and she was just like, "You're not ever going to finish this model, are you?" And I was like, I mean, I plan on having it done by the end of the year. And she was just like,
Ha!
"You're not going to be able to play with the wire.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to go to Adepticon if you don't get this done."
Shit. Got a bit of that.
Yeah, she's brutally honest. And then she was like, "It does make more sense that his blades would be in his fingers, though," which it's just like, find you a woman who knows where the blades are supposed to be in the fingers.
Can I use that as a segue?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The thing,
of
the
course.
thing I'm working on now is Kroot, and I have a similar problem with a woman telling me, "Why are you working on that? That's not Kroot. You need to get some Kroot done for Adepticon. You're not going to get to go to Adepticon if you don't finish your Kroot." I'm like,
Well, I mean, don't
God
you need
damn
to
it,
make an
woman.
army? Don't you?
make it an army.
Holy
That's
shit.
crazy.
Good
And I've
lord.
got like 10 dudes done,
That's pretty good.
but this is the first one I've actually like tried to paint. And
Oh
that
my
he's
God, he's
primed, and I need to
primed.
actually paint him now. But yeah, that's what I'm working on. So I actually started converting more Kroot, which is good because I need to make a buttload of them. So that's going to be me from now until March.
Yeah. Well, how do you have a sense of how many you want to have made?
Yeah, I've got an army list
Okay.
that my
What
buddy
army
worked
list
up
are
for
you
me.
using?
Dark Eldar.
Oh,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So we're going to have 4 squads of 5 guys in Venoms. And then we're going to have 1 squad of 9 Scourges, 1 squad of 10 Mandrakes, and then some like Archons rolling around and Archon Minder dudes rolling around causing havoc. But yeah, they're all going to be Kroot Tyranid Hunters, and each squad is going to have like unique weapons. And I actually got a buddy of mine in the UK, Bits of Box. You guys might
Yeah.
there's a lot of conversion
Yep.
stuff. He's making some Kroot for the Force too.
Oh,
So
nice.
he's taking
Wow,
the
awesome.
squads.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to
How-
see
what are you gonna do?
Kroot being made because they were great models.
Mhm.
If
All
you
those
guys
extra
want to
bits
follow,
in the Kroot kit are great.
yeah, like all the little pouches and stuff.
Yeah, and the knives and even like the meat and stuff is really cool.
Yeah.
And the rib cages, like the hunks of
Exactly.
meat.
Yeah, delicious.
If you guys want Kroot and you want to see more Kroot being made, our group, we're doing like a team army thing for Adepticon, and our hashtag is Siege of Petch.
Ah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Also Kroot Invasion, but Siege of Petch is the one that I've been mostly using. So that will connect you to the other guys who are converting Kroot for this project.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I'll check
Yeah.
it out.
One thing that's
I-
kind of cool too, I guess Kill Team actually has like a Kroot warband and stuff now too. So like, either
Have you seen those rules?
Are they shit?
They're utter shit. Like
That sounds
there are
bad.
no options. This is the amount of a Kroot. It has this weapon.
Yeah, well, that's a
That's it.
shame. All right, so then I guess you can just keep using Dark Eldar then, which maybe they don't have any options either. But
Some of the armies in
also-
Kill Team are awful. Like they just have nothing.
Yeah, it's trash. The other guys in our group, they're using AdMech rules for the Kroot. I think one of them is actually hardcore and he's using Tau rules and like he's proxying
Yeah.
Tau units as Kroot kind of thing.
That's
But,
oh, because
um,
like the Tau are pretty hardcore because they have like the best unit in Kill Team, which is the 7-point drone.
They're so good. They're so good. They're stupid. They're so stupid. Like, oh, I've only played like 1 or 2 games against the Talon Kill Team, and like you can tell pretty quick. Like, oh, wow,
Yeah, they're good.
wow.
AdMech's pretty good in it too because they can get a shit ton of better plasma rifles.
Yeah.
But
They've got that stratagem that makes them not misfire. That they're like plasma of 1 turns, you just unload.
yeah, no, it's true. Well, so, Mr. Pink, like, do you know how to play the game?
I used to play the game in 2nd edition and 3rd edition and a little bit in 4th edition. And
Because
I
didn't you
played
play
when
with your Gene Stealer Cult
Yeah.
Army a little bit, right? So that's
Yeah.
good. So like
You have
at
I
experience.
least
played in the tournament.
I mean,
And
'cause-
I didn't lose.
Yeah, so
I didn't
that's
win.
good.
But I think I won like maybe 1 or 2 games against Marines.
good.
Every fucking opponent was a Marine.
That makes sense.
Well, when
It's
you go
horrible.
to Adepticon, it'll be even better because they'll all be Iron Hands.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
or
that the
Ultimate,
army?
because they're really rough now too.
The Iron
Yes.
Hands, I think, are pretty good.
I think
Yeah.
what you're saying is you should be playing Horus Heresy because it's just all Marines, like, and it just sounds right up your alley. Like everyone, you'll love it. The community there is just great. All Marines all the time.
See, we're on the wrong side of the ocean, though, Nick. Quit teasing us. You know it's true too. That's
One
the
day, all
sad-
you Marine lovers are going to take off your training wheels and play a real game.
Yeah, I'm
Your
building a
3+
guard
armor
army at
saves
the
and your
moment,
strength 4
so
weapons and your fucking 3+ to hit. Like,
I'm building a guard army at the moment,
There you
so
go.
that's a lot of fun.
I like
Dude.
guard.
Horde
Yeah.
armies like guard, Tyranids,
Ugh.
orcs. I can't do it anymore.
Custodes.
Oh, custodes.
So it is very
I wanna
much like a horde army.
Too long. I think a Horde army would drive me insane. And
It's
That's why
awful.
I'm
It's
not
awful.
doing Horde Guard. I'm doing Stormtroopers. It's nice and easy.
So,
question:
went
Did
to-
Adam say his thing? Did Adam say what he's working on right now?
I'm just working on drawing Christmas cards and holiday cards and shit.
Oh, but no hobby stuff.
Nothing like of note. I've worked a little bit on a Space Marine,
Nice.
and I've done a
Doing
little
that
more
kickflip?
work on that Arco-Flagellant. Like, I posted him on the blog like he was finished, but he's not finished. There's more detail that has to be done. Like, his chainsaw needs to have like little exhaust ports and stuff, and like I need to make little brass tubing syringes in his back and shit. So like there need to be
Gotta
more
make
like
sense.
ports and stuff in his shoulders and body and shit.
Like Eli, it can never be done.
And then eventually we just die.
how does your upper flagellant hold up size-wise to the new ones?
Oh, yeah.
I should eventually I'll take a picture of that, but he's quite a bit bigger. Like the
Huh.
Blood Bowl Wood Elf models are pretty big. I don't
That's
think he's not
surprising.
so big that it'll look like way out of place, but he's like a big brute of a character. Yeah, so
You would think
eventually I'll
it
take a
would fit
picture.
scale-wise with like most
That's
like
cool.
modern Games Workshop models, but like not the Death Corps of Krieg.
Oh,
Are they
well, the
tiny
Death
now?
Corps Krieg, they are almost scaled to look okay next to the older plastic Space Marines. So like that's really saying something. Like, oh damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
The Necromunda models are a weird scale too.
Oh,
Like
they're-
the scale is
each
so out of
one's-
whack these days.
Yeah, each one in Necromunda's way different.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all big. They're all really big. Like, most of them are as big, if not bigger, than like Primaris Space Marines. So,
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
The Necromunda ones?
yeah.
I'm pretty sure Van Sar are smaller.
Yeah, they're pretty weedy
They,
because they're so old. You know.
yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's right. They're old and like they've been fucked up by like radiation and other shit. They're still pretty big though. Like they're around the same size as like the Gene Stealer cultists. It's just their proportioned, maybe a little less heroic. So they look a little smaller when I think in actuality they're pretty similar in size to some of the
Yeah,
other stuff.
Captain Timberley mentions here that the variation size is actually kind of nice. And I feel particular if you're just playing Necromunda and not comparing it to like the 40K models, like I think it works pretty well, and it's interesting to have that variation. But to have like a Goliath or like the Corpse Grinder stuff, like bigger than Primaris Space Marine, seems like that's interesting.
Mm.
No, but
It's just that everything's gone like Primaris size now. Everyone's gotten the Primaris treatment.
It's true.
It's
so true.
What's the thought?
Where's my
everybody?
Primaris Necrons?
Yeah, well, they were already huge.
They are already huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we actually move on to actually just go into this episode, so we aren't here until the end of time.
No.
Yep.
Sounds good.
All right, so I'm just gonna do my sort of standard thing here, saying 3, 2, 1, record, and then I'll go into a thing, and I'm just gonna probably say your first name and your kind of Instagram handle, and you can say hi or whatnot. But yeah, all right. Everyone ready?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, record. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Drag into Turbolasers, a Between the Bolter and Me podcast. This is episode 66, and I'm your host, Eric Wire, and tonight I'm joined with my brother, Adam.
Hey, everybody.
And excitingly, we have a whole host of guests here, the first of which, Juniper, goes by Voxmorbus.
Hello.
Then we also have Eli going under the name Red Wet Skeleton.
Hello.
Then also Modern Synthesist, or Nick, is back again.
Hi.
And finally, we have another Nick who goes by the name of Cordal.
Hello.
Well, yeah. Hey, everybody. It's great to have you all on here. This is the largest kind of group we've had, tried to get together on one of these podcasts. And I think it should be exciting. And we wanted to get a bunch of people on here because this particular episode, we wanted to sort of reflect on 2019 as a whole, as it's rapidly coming to an end, and just kind of talk with all of you about, all the things that happened, what we've been excited about. And then maybe at the end, talk a little also about what we're kind of hoping to do in the future as we move into a new decade in 2020.
Yeah. It's been an interesting and good year, I would say, just in general.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. But I think for the first part, we kind of wanted to talk briefly with kind of all of you about what's something that you've kind of done this year, like sort of a personal hobby project or model that you created that you're really happy about because, you tried some new techniques or anything of that nature. And because I guess there are a bunch of us, maybe we can just sort of go down the line, and maybe we could start with you, Vox. Do you have anything you've been working on this particular year that sort of pushed you to grow sort of as a hobbyist?
Definitely. So I just got back into the hobby this year, mid-year, after like a 7 or 8 year hiatus or something like that. And kind of what got me back into it was becoming aware of the Ink 28 community. I think it has a lot more appeal for someone who takes their hobby from a bit more subtle and mature angle. And my favorite model that I've done this year is probably my Inquisitor. I named her. I think she was a kind of a breakthrough moment for me, relating to the movement, and then also my own techniques. A lot of things clicked on getting good at painting again, freehand, and lots of things. The conversion, I think, is really, really came together. And she got quite a bit of recognition as well from the community, which is really cool. I think she was definitely my favorite. It was a point where everything kind of clicked into place for me. Yeah,
no, it's a really cool model, and I think it was sort of based on the Inquisitor Greyfax model, which I feel a lot of people, to be honest, it's one of the only plastic Inquisitor models. So I feel people see it a lot, but I feel you kind of took it in a slightly different direction, And I think particularly adding like a mask, in this case, this like sort of a skull mask, I think helps make the model, I don't know, read a little bit better. And I feel the regular model, like the model's head was sort of gigantic looking, but putting a mask on it, I think it fits a lot better, and like it's easier to sort of suspend this disbelief and think like, oh, there's all this targeting information and all that stuff. And I think it makes the model a little bit more mysterious.
And those Rogue Trader dueling pistols or dueling revolvers work like perfectly.
They look so good.
Thanks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the size just ended up working out perfectly. I actually kind of bought that box to cut up the hands to put onto that model. Once I saw them, I was like, "Oh yeah, those are the guns."
Yeah, so you're truly into the Inc. 28 scene. If like you buy like boxes of models for like, you know what, like I would like to spend like $100 to get this one box because I want that one hand. Like I may do nothing else with it, but like it can sit around for like a couple years. But like, yeah, it's worth it.
Didn't you guys use a Titan chassis for your Red Eternum?
That's true. The head cardinal or leader of the Red Church, the like chair she's sitting in is one of the chairs from a Warhound Titan.
The Warhound Titan. I think it was right when we started this blog 7 years ago. It's like, wow, this is a big moment for us. Let's celebrate by buying something impressive. So we bought this Warhound Titan, and it sat for, I don't know, 6 years with or 5 years or something, doing absolutely nothing with it. And then we pulled out the little chair. It's like, we can use this for something.
Totally worth it.
It's kind of like baller status. Like when people see that chair and they realize where it's from, they're like, holy shit, these guys can take a whole Warhound Titan and only use the chair. Wow. I got to get
like
that
flex, but okay.
Yeah.
Wait, I did that people eating gold-plated salad.
I had my first dominatrix that I ever did, the conversion from the Forge World hair duel. I was doing it for High Fleet Moloch, the black and red Tyranid guy who also did like a lot of the Ouroboros stuff that showed up in the Anphalian, I can't pronounce any of these things, book.
Yeah.
So I was doing it for him, and I'm like, yeah, I want to put a tyrant on the back of it. And he's like, oh yeah, I can send you a tyrant head that I have, but it's resin. And I'm like, what do you mean it's resin? Like it's a Forge World tyrant? He's like, no, it's the Games Workshop plastic tyrant, but it's resin, because I think this was like before they released the current plastic tyrant based on a pewter one.
Yeah.
Before they cast it in pewter, they did test casts in resin, and they because he got models ahead of the whatever codex the plastic Carnifex came out in, he had like resin casts of pewter models.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I can't use this head. This is
biggest
flex. A collector's item. He's like, I don't care. Just take this random resin limited edition head and go for it. I'm like, okay, whatever.
I think it was. That's pretty great.
I think it was Core3 Nell on Instagram was gloating about how hacking up limited edition models feels so much better than just normal ones.
Yeah,
it does. It does.
Well, so the Rogue Trader Kill Team box game, like I bought that. I've done literally nothing with the models, but I did take the dog and send it to you, Nick.
Yep.
When you used it, so it's like, hey, other people.
Well, I guess admittedly, our last episode of the podcast, we were talking to Weirding Way, and I think he mentioned something about it in it. Like, you know what? Like when you're doing conversions and stuff, like you'll always be able to find new cool parts and bits. Like you don't have to be too precious with it. Use what you think is cool and to make, you know, what's in your head. And I think is kind of good advice.
Definitely.
Like, and particularly for if you are sort of in kind of this Inc. 28 side of something and you aren't, you know, necessarily planning on building like 3,000 points or something, like it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
But
you know, I just had a cool idea. Maybe I'll take this 50th anniversary chaplain, his head, and I'll put that onto the limited edition Canoness from the box set.
Nice.
Perfect.
Let's see.
Well,
we should try and see how many limited edition models you could put together in one model.
Oh,
How
yeah.
many like fanboy hearts can I break by just smashing bits together?
Do it.
It would be worth it. Okay, so who wants to talk next?
Well, maybe we could, Mr. Pink, maybe you could talk a little bit. Particularly, we were mentioning about like not having to build armies and stuff, but you actually are like
You're like an
productive
army
and enough that you actually
I'm
do
not an
build
army
armies.
builder. It's.
I think you are.
I think I should keep hanging around with you, Inc. 28 kids, if I'm an army builder, because that feels good.
Like you build more than like 2 models.
Eventually, you'll find yourself in that shitty spot that I'm in, where you try to do both, and you just don't get anything done.
yeah, I get that. I keep getting inspired like individual builds, and I need to get back to making this friggin' army.
Yeah. So with that said, like of the stuff you did this year, does anything stand out? And is it going to be part of an army?
It was used in a game.
Well, that's impressive. It's pretty impressive.
So I did a warrior. I think I sent it's on my Instagram, but I sent a picture to Adam as well. So I'm very lucky in that my wife, when she's not yelling at me for not making Kroot, she tells all her friends about my dorky hobby, and she finds random dudes who like always wanted to play Warhammer but never had a chance. And one of her friends he said like, "Oh yeah, I want to try this Warhammer game." And I was like, "Oh well, like we can play Shadow War," because I wanted to play like a small game with him, and I had the Shadow War rulebook. And he was really interested in Tyranids. Like we took him to Games Workshop. He's like, "Those are the ones for me." I'm like, "We're gonna be good friends." So I was like, "Well, I got some Tyranids for you," and I started putting together like a Tyranid warrior force for him, and I was gonna play my Gene Stealer cult against him, but he I wanted to get like some new spawn warriors, and the warriors that I have I painted more than a decade ago, and they're crap. So I was like, well, maybe I can like convert up some like new warriors for this guy, and wouldn't it be a cool challenge to like try and paint them in like the 2 weeks before we had our game?
Yeah.
So I went to town converting on this warrior. I wanted to make it look a little smaller than a normal warrior, so I kind of cut it down and cut down like its head carapace and stuff. And I just like said, yeah, like I don't paint that much. Like I have painted in the past, but I more prefer sculpting and converting and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, I'm going to try painting this thing because I think I've gotten better at painting since the last time I tried painting Tyranids. I've done a lot of Gene Stealer Queen. And I was just really impressed that I converted and painted this warrior model in about a week, like maybe like a week and a half, like 1 weekend to 1 weekend. Yeah, so I was really proud about that just because, wait, I didn't just do one, I did 2.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
So there's 2 different poses or 2 different warriors. But yeah, I was just impressed because for me, I don't love painting, but this kind of got me back into it. And I kind of surprised myself with how well I was able to do with them after not playing Tyranids in a long time. And it was just kind of cool for me that it was inspired by trying to introduce someone to the hobby.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's nice, like introducing new people or trying to play the game. Like it adds sort of an extra impetus to like step out of maybe your comfort zone and try to accomplish some things. So like that's good to hear. And like it's always great to see new Tyranids from you.
I love how they're skinnier. It's really neat. Like
so they
do a lot with them.
They suffered a bit from like the weird Delac / Necromunda proportions because I made them skinnier, but they actually wound up being a little bit taller because of the way I made them. And you put them beside a normal warrior and they actually look bigger than a normal warrior when they're supposed to look small.
But that's really, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
They look a lot more menacing, I think. They're kind of like raptors.
Mm-hmm. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that. Yeah, the other ones are kind of like hunched over and fat and like more like eels than like scary predator creatures.
Dad bod.
Yeah.
It's like they're really going into their middle age and kind of feeling the age.
A little
And
Yeah.
sluggish.
they're not the
Their
apex predators they used to be.
They've
They're
been
like,
Their knees
We're
are
like-
all
the fire
fucked up.
it's like we've devoured too many worlds. Like,
Yeah. Whatever.
devour us, like hive mind, devour us again, and let us be reborn in a new.
They've been hitting the biomass a little too hard.
Yeah, I think so.
Now they only drink craft biomass.
I'm gonna get some crap biomass. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Oh.
All right. Well, let's, I guess, move on to how about you, Eli? You were talking, or it was brought up a little bit that you can sometimes try to do too much and then end up with nothing.
I always do.
What have you been doing, and what are you kind of excited about? And
Well, I built a whole damn Black Templar army, and then decided that I hate myself and just want to do it again. So I have, since I've been in this hobby for forever, like most of us, I have a shit ton of horribly proportioned Space Marines. And I thought to myself, you know what? It's a waste for them to just sit in the bag and be trash. I should take them out and, like any normal lunatic, try to true scale them.
Oh
Now,
God.
the key information like that you need to know is that I also bought 4 boxes of Dark Imperium and have been sitting on 80-something Primaris Marines
Four?
to make a true scale Black Templar army
That's
since
a
it
lot,
came
man.
out.
4.
So
4
I spent a
boxes?
good chunk. Yeah, I spent a good chunk of this year making these Black Templar, and then was just like, man, this sucks.
Well, actually,
well,
I need to bring up a point. Like, I'm looking at your Instagram profile. And
Oh, I
don't
purged
see
them.
any of them. Yeah.
yeah, they're purged. They're gone. Yeah, no, one thing that you all need to know is that, yeah, I
The
burned
only-
the shit down.
The only Black
Yeah.
Templar I see is the Funko Pop one.
That's right. That's the only
Space
good one.
Marines are a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
the
God.
captain that I sent you guys that had like the skulls nailed to pieces of wood and shit that was badass. I cut him in half. I hollowed out his back, and I put it to where I could pretty much fit him onto a Primaris body. So now he's going to be true scaled. And that's when I started down this crazy path of like, I'm going to start making my own shit out of brass. And that's when I started making those swords out of brass and sharpening them down with diamond files and just getting real insane with true scaling everything, but like on an army scale. So I did that, and that's one of my goals is to have that done for next year, because I started this year to play 40K again. And after playing 1,500 points of Tyranids and having 129 models on the board, I remembered, man, this sucks every time it's my turn. So yeah, ramble. I don't get anything done. The only model I finished this
Mr.
year
Pink
was-
likes the Tyranids.
We all
Dude, I like Tyranids too, man, but there's just too damn many of them. I don't have that kind of time. I'm a crazy person. So yeah, the only model that I finished was the vampire that I don't even have anymore. I sent it to Eric.
Really cool.
And I'm eternally grateful.
But no, that actually is the polar opposite of how I normally work, and I was able to like from like 2 weeks of talking to you and being like, oh yeah, Mordheim. I really, really like Mordheim. Yeah, I'd love to help you out and make a vampire. Like from that moment to like 2 weeks later, like I like built, painted the model and was done with it, which is the fastest that I've ever done anything in this hobby. So it was really cool. I got to help you guys out. Like the whole me getting back into the hobby was mainly due to seeing like the Yggdrasil Liam board and that stuff. And then the first like event that happened was the Curse of the Alabaster, and that's how I met you guys. So it seemed like a really good kind of circle to send you guys a model for this new event that is like a big thing for the community. And I also got to include a reference to Berserk in there because the little guy that's been ripped in half is wearing the Band of the Hawk colors.
They always get bugged.
And I got to make an awful invisible vampire guy. That was fun.
Yeah. Nah, it's a really cool model, and it was at the actual Mordheim 2019. He was pretty terrifying. Tore up a bunch of sisters and witch hunters and stuff because
vampires are so nasty in Mordheim.
It's true. It's true, and it was neat how you kind of explored this idea of it being like somewhat invisible, but then becoming more visible from all the gore and coagulated blood and such. So I feel it was like a neat concept to explore.
Yeah, from talking with you about the rest of the warband, and then the model that Nick made, the lamprey. I just kind of took those two ideas together and kind of mixed it and just started to try to think about how to take all the different things that were in your warband and put them into one thing, and it kind of led to that. So I was just at like work, just like drawing out this awful vampire thing, and was like, I'm gonna go home and make this. But I was very, very pleased with that. Very pleased. And then since then, I've just been working on this Tech Priest, and also built some Adeptus Titanicus models, because that's another thing I plan. See, what I do is I do like a whole bunch of work, and I never get it done. So like 2 years from now, when I'm just like, bam, Adeptus Titanicus, bam, 2,000 points of Black Templar, bam, a Warhound Titan, all this shit, you guys are going to be like, whoa, man, Eli's really getting a lot of stuff done. And then you won't hear from me for like 5 more years.
Well, it is what it is. That's the hobby, right?
And it is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's my ranting.
All right, well.
All right. Other Nick.
Hello.
Do you have you've made like a ton of models this year, and I've been impressed with every one of them. But do you have a particular one that is like your favorite?
So I'm going to change from my earlier suggestion. It's going to be the Devouring Saint for my Lamprey warband. You know, the big guy with a halo.
Oh yeah, I think I have a picture. Yeah, I brought up a picture.
Oh, dude, that model's so good.
It was one of those ones where I saw the big Slanesh Demon Prince and I was like, what can I make out of this? And there was a point where I almost threw it in the bin, and I hated that model with like every inch of my being when I was green stuffing it. Mm-hmm. And then it sort of like came together, and it was just I really loved it's the next one, Adam.
Yeah, I found it.
It's because Warcry was really cool, and like one of my mates was like, oh, do you want to try and do Warcry? And I was like, it's a small model game. I'm not too fussed with any of the war bands, really. And I wanted to do ghouls. And I kind of was like, and then I looked at the ghoul models, and the ghoul models are just cartoonish. They're really bad. I'd like, just to be blunt, like they're really, really bad, the ghoul models. And I was like, these aren't scary. They kind of look like something you would see in like a Disney film idea of ghouls. So I was like, I want to go full body horror, like really, really, really like kind of creepy, mix some weird religious elements in there. And I just went, it was a lot of fun to make that warband and sort of kind of go to town with it.
Yeah, no, they're awesome. Like I feel like each member of the warband kind of has a different size and distinct profile, but all kind of fit together in this body horror element. Like they're really cool. And just a very good sort of cohesive but unique image of them.
And word on the street is you even played Warcry.
Yes, I played a couple of games of Warcry, and it's excellent. It's one of my favorite game systems that GW have produced. It's super quick. You can play it in 40 minutes. I'm not being paid, guys. I just really love Warcry. It's really, really good fun. And yeah, it's nice, and it also gives the opportunity for your opponents to kind of like go to town with their own conversions. Like you get people who play it out of like the stock boxes, but like I went to Warhammer World and I played. You guys know the Empyrean?
Mhm.
Yeah. Like I played his Cypher Lords, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, it's just been like it's a really cool little system that I want to kind of keep dabbling in, and I would recommend anyone if you want to kind of get into Age of Sigmar. It's a really cool system.
It is fun. I've played a bunch of games of it.
Nick, I'm following along on my phone because this is all kind of like laggy, and I wanted to thank you for your Untitled Goose art.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That brought me a lot of joy.
I need to paint the conversion I did with the goose with a Baden sword. Actually, it's in my box.
Yeah, not that this
Very
isn't
nice.
really a video game podcast, obviously, but Untitled Goose Game, best game of 2019. And it's nice to see the goose getting all sorts of mischief in the 41st millennium, as one would expect.
Of course.
I think the goose with Drachnian is another good example. Was 28 people fucking up an entire kit for like one weird model.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. It's what you need to do.
I was just like, I could use this sword for a cool radical inquisitor, or I could use this sword for a one-off conversion that will get laughs. And I'm like, I had to do it.
It's like, laughs.
It's worth it.
Best.
Feel him as a demon prince.
Oh yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
pretty great.
It's the 41st millennium, and you are a horrible goose.
Yeah, such a horrible goose.
Yes,
In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is only geese.
Yeah. Well,
I have one more goose model on that sprue, so I need to decide what to do with it.
Where do the geese come from?
I bought them from Warlord Games. They do a 28mm farmyard animal sprue that has like dogs, cats, geese, chickens, pigs, cows, and they're all really nice. And they're sort of GW scaled, slightly smaller. So it's a really nice sprue.
That's good. That's good. Well, Adam, do you want to say
Greg
something?
just said something in the chat. He said, "How many people talking have played the Untitled Goose Game?" I actually played it. It's one of the few games I played this year.
I only consume the memes.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's worth it. I mean, it's not out on that many systems yet, but if it's released on like other systems, it's worth playing.
Wait, you guys don't all have
Pretty
Switch like I do?
I mean,
I have a Switch. I need to get it on Switch.
It's a quick game, but yeah, it's a quick game.
Pretty sure that game was made here in Australia as well. It's fun. Put out a good couple of indie games lately. Hollow Knight a couple of years back had a lot of acclaim.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Hollow Knight's huge, yeah.
Yeah, that's from my hometown.
Oh really?
Nice.
It's like the best game on the Switch.
Yeah.
Come on, please. Breath of the Wild.
It's fucking Zelda. Like, whatever.
It's a great game, though. Breath of the Wild's great, though. It is great. All right. Well, let's swing back into, Disco Elysium is like supposedly like the best thing.
It's the single best game I played of the decade, and everyone should play it.
Yeah. All right. So that's pretty high praise. So
I played the Outer Worlds, and it was mediocre, which was sad. Had me at first, and it lost me pretty quick.
If you were disappointed in Outer Worlds, just put a final nail in the tangent. Disco Elysium does all the politics so much better than the Outer Worlds. It's phenomenal. If you've ever wanted to play a drunk feminist communist cop, then Disco Elysium is for you.
I have wanted to do that.
I often think about how I would like to do that.
I would describe myself as 3 of those things.
All right. Well, Adam, do you have anything you'd like? Well, what of the stuff you've done? What stands out to you?
I don't actually know. Like, I feel I've made a fair number of models this year. But I feel probably some of the Sisters of Sigmar that I worked on are probably what like I'm most happy with, and I feel I spent most of the time this past year working on them and kind of exploring exploring the Sisters of Sigmar and trying to distill them into something a little more serious and believable, and not just kind of comical like nuns with hammers and big shields and shit. And of those models, I'm not even sure which I would say my favorite was. But I was pretty happy with the one with the like the flaming shield of sorts. And I did like a ton of sculpting work on that to like sort of change the model from like a Zinch model into like a Sister of Sigmar model and everything. So I was pretty happy with her.
Did the original Sisters of Sigmar, did their shields have the twin-tailed comet like motif on it?
Yes. Well, for instance, I used one of the models of the Sisters of Sigmar was like based on one of the original models, and the shield she's holding is a modified version of one of those shields. So they had kind of more traditional looking like bucklers or like kite shields with like the flaming twin-tailed comets. Yeah. So I was quite happy with them. And then I guess also I should probably mention the where is it? The little the invisible horror that I made for Eric's Mordheim Warband. Like that was more of like a concept model where I had the idea that it would be neat to kind of try and make a model that was invisible and just cast it in clear resin and then kind of play around with like blood effects and everything. And so that was one of the kind of things where I thought of the idea and I thought, wow, that'd be cool. I should really do that. But I wasn't actually sure if I'd actually do it. But I managed to do it, and so I was pleased with that.
It's really a unique model.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, so I feel it was a pretty productive year for you. I, on the other hand, most of the models in like the Warband I had other people made for me, so. But I guess for the stuff that I feel I was happiest about was probably recently I've been kind of on a kick of trying to relatively quickly paint some like sort of single piece metal models. Like I painted some of like the Gardens of Hecate Kickstarter models, as well as like an old Chaos Sorcerer model. And I don't know, I felt just really happy with trying to paint some of those models like quickly in like a day or two to paint each model. And I was happy to just kind of experiment with some of the contrast paints and get something that I think looks pretty good without, a huge amount of effort. And those in combination with sort of the bone trees that I got from like Wilhelm Miniatures, I think all the stuff just like I'm happy with how it all kind of fits together in a kind of cohesive way. So like I was just happy with that, and we'll probably kind of continue to add some like just sort of odd curiosities to like the little forming warband. So yeah, I've been happy with that.
Yeah, cool.
I guess we can, now that we've all kind of said a little bit about that, maybe we can move into talking about looking back at 2019. I feel there have been a lot of like cool, larger sort of community projects or events sort of happening in the hobby. And like, does anyone have something that stands out to them that they would kind of like to reflect upon and bring up?
I think for me, it was Dark Tech's work for Gelida. Like, I like Gelida had such a varied and really cool overall, but Dark Tech this year, especially for that, was knocking out the park with some really like sinister and cool models. Unless I'm misremembering, but I remember he did a really cool mech for it.
He did a lot of great stuff for Gelida and like kind of showing some of like the chaotic side of some of the warriors and stuff that were trapped on that planet. So like I think, yeah, he did a lot for kind of to look at sort of a different element of that planet, and how sort of the chaotic influence might change sort of the mechs they have and that sort of thing. Yeah.
And I feel the Gelida event in general was, I think it was a pretty important one that I feel hopefully in the coming year we'll learn even more about it. But like I think there were a lot of narrative elements and stuff in it that I feel it's pretty hard to get across a lot of those narrative elements in like a really cohesive way in like an actual game where multiple people are taking part in. And I feel some of that was neat to see. And I know like some of like the material and stuff that were used for some of that, I think you can download now. And I think more of it will be released in the future. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that, because I feel with each of these like events and stuff that happen all over the place, like the more information that's out there that's readily available, the better, because like different people can use some of that information to kind of do their own things, kind of learn what worked and what didn't work.
Yeah, because kind of good. As you were saying, that like for sort of people from outside looking into it, it's kind of hard to get a sense of like, well, how did these games actually play out? What was the narrative if they're just looking at like pictures of some of the models and such?
Which you guys did a very, very good job of recapping in your interview with, is it Magus Bauer?
Yeah.
How do you pronounce that? Boer? I was really confused about Gelida. It looked cool until I heard that podcast that you guys did. Interviewing him and like because he's the one who created the whole Gelida thing, and it was a fantastic podcast that really delved into his backstory and like for the whole event. And if anyone's wondering about this Gelida thing, they've heard about it and they haven't listened to that episode of Dragged Into Turbolasers, they should definitely listen to it.
It was good.
That episode for me was a bit of a revelation as well, and sort of made Gelida my favorite hobby project of the year as well. Obviously, I saw the cool mechs on Instagram and like the Inquisitorium on Facebook and stuff, but then hearing about the way that the background was created and the sort of like cosmic horror nihilism vibe that it was going for turned it from just being, oh, it's an ice planet with mechs, to something that had a lot more sort of ideology and philosophy behind it. Like he went really in deep into like philosophizing about, you know, the nature, like the heart of darkness of Gelida, and that was awesome. That made it really, really cool to me.
Yeah, and so that it was episode 63 if people kind of want to go back and listen to it. But yeah, it was really, really nice to just sort of talk to Majos Bjor about it, because I mean I feel people in Inc. 28 in general, like it's thrown around a lot, like, oh, a narrative event, collaborative event, but like unless you've been involved in one, it can be kind of hard to know exactly what that means. And to be honest, each one is so different that it's nice to be able to talk to people who have like, you know, run a particular event, and each sort of has their own sort of priorities on how they want to run it and what's important. So it's nice to hear people kind of talk about those sensibilities and what they went about doing to like convey the narrative elements and things like that. And I think it's really helpful to hear that sort of thing. And I think it's certainly hearing him talk about it elevated, I think, that project even above what it had already been, just from looking at all the cool models from like Dark Tech and others.
Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, that was certainly a very important event for the year that I feel I wish I was actually more of a part of it.
Can't do everything, I suppose.
No, that's true. That's true. So anyone else have any like projects or interesting things that they thought were particularly notable over the course of the year? I
Eli, what
know.
about you?
Mordheim 2019 was pretty pivotal.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I certainly spent most of my time in the year working on that, so it certainly made an impression on me. Um, let's see if I can bring up.
Everybody just needs more Mordheim in their life, in my opinion.
Yeah.
True.
Like, it's just so great. Just such a shitty place. It's just the worst city ever.
It's a bad city. It's true.
Yeah, I feel of all like Games Workshop sort of skirmish games and stuff, I feel it has like kind of the most cohesive setting. That like Kill Team is cool, but it's just like any 40k army you want. Like it doesn't matter, bring it all. Whereas I feel
Yeah.
Mordheim was a little bit more selective in the war bands and stuff there, and kind of resulted in a slightly more lo-fi fantasy setting that made it more sort of terrifying. And
And it was just unrelenting. And it's just like everything is like the aesthetic of the pathetic.
Yep.
Everything is awful. No one does a good job in the city, and everyone dies. It's just the awful place. Hopeless. It's one of my favorite settings that they've ever come up with.
yeah, and Alexander Winberg and like Echoes of the Imperium did like a tremendous job, I think, of like sort of getting people together to try to explore it and look into it again after 20 years, and like it was really great to be a part of it and make some models and such.
Also, that board looked amazing.
Oh, holy crap! Yes.
Yeah, dude, Kari. Talk about getting shit done. Kari building that board in like less than a year. But it was really like maybe 3 months. Like maybe 3 months, and he made like probably one of the best boards I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, it was pretty impressive. It was pretty impressive.
No, I mean there were a lot of elements, a lot of really cool elements, and a lot of really cool ideas came together for the whole event. The biggest thing I'll say about it, like, or one of the things that the whole event was, I feel just it was too short. Like there were so many people, and there were so many cool boards, models, and everything. There just wasn't enough time to really like do enough with it. Like I know I played. How many games did I play? I played like 3 games, and I played some more like after the fact, but like I feel hopefully there has been some talk of trying to get together with different people to continue and play more games like in the setting and stuff, and like I think that would be great, because yeah, like all the
And I think also like it also was a good example of that you don't have to like play just the new games Games Workshop and such is releasing. Like if you like one of their old games or want to build some models for it, like there's nothing really stopping you from doing that. And like you can find those old rule books or download the PDFs that Specialist Games had released, and like you can kind of revive it again and have like a great time with it, such that it's just again another emphasis that the hobby is kind of what you make of it, and you can kind of do your own thing. You don't have to be restricted and just like waiting for like the next thing Games Workshop releases. So I think that was kind of a positive element of it as well.
Yeah. No, we need to play more Mordheim, or better yet, we need to play Realms of Chaos. Like that's what I want.
Yes.
I want that to be a thing.
Yeah,
Bring back Gorka Morka.
Gorka Morka would be
Yes,
so good.
or that.
Gorka Morka would be great.
Put them all on the list.
Also, Greg in the chat says the clear highlight for him were the Forge World releases.
Greg.
Okay, so Greg doesn't
troll.
even like grace us with his face, and he's
No.
trolling us from the chat.
He's trolling us in the chat. Yeah.
What a
He's already
guy.
digitally sent us so many.
Hey, Greg, what's your hobby project for 2019, buddy?
We'll see if he has something to say about that.
Radio silence.
Yeah, but yeah, Mordheim was great, and like really grateful that like at least the three of us were be able to, be involved in it, and it was great to finally meet Alex firsthand and see a bunch of our old friends from when we did the Pilgrim thing and all that stuff. It was just really great. One thing that I'd like to pick out as something that I thought was a pretty big like highlight of 2019 was the first issue of the like free digital magazine 28 was released, and I thought that was like a pretty big sort of milestone for particularly these sort of niche elements of the hobby for Ink 28, Age of Sigmar 28, and all that sort of thing. And in particular, was something that somewhat filled a void after White Dwarf revitalized itself and like in the process removed all like the Blanchitsu articles. And which admittedly, upon reflection, those articles maybe weren't that great. Like it was nice to see it officially acknowledged in like one of their publications, but most of them were just like 2 pages and some nice photos. But I think the 28 magazine was a sort of a big step in the sense that it actually had more to say. There were lots of articles, some of which were just cool pictures, but there were a lot kind of talking about what like Ink 28 is, like how people go about creating models and their inspirations and how to run events. So there's so much great information there from all sorts of unique hobbyists from different, all over the place. And I think that was really neat. And it's sort of shows how like connected the community is, and just helps excite people about it. And it's also a nice thing, like if people are interested in what this sort of narrative sort of skirmish sort of stuff is, like it's something you can kind of easily point to and like just sort of they can look through the issue and get a sense of what it sort of is, but it also kind of gives you a good sense of that for everyone, Ink 28 and such is a little bit different, and that's okay. And that's part of the fun, kind of exploring it to sort of your own heart's content and doing what you want with it. So I think that was exciting for me. And hopefully the second issue is far along in the works, so hopefully that will be released soon.
Cannot wait.
We'll see. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But so that was something that stood out to me.
Yeah, I think the magazine came out around the time that I got back into it, and it was a real sort of guiding light to see, like it was a real source of inspiration what people were doing and how they were approaching the hobby. So it's just such a good resource, I feel, especially if you're interested but don't understand heaps about the Ink 28 scene, and just want to get a better understanding of what people are doing and the sort of ethos behind it.
Yeah, no, I think that is tremendously important because I feel while the Blanchitsu articles in White Dwarf were cool, they helped like showcase a different side of the hobby, but there was so little written in any of them that I could see a lot of people almost be turned away from it. It's like, wow, this is really cool, but I have no idea what it is. And then like, well, yeah, I can't be part of that when I feel that's like farther from the truth than like anyone would even imagine. It looks like Greg's here.
Hey, everybody,
Hey, Greg.
we need another person that sounds like 2 other people in this
What
chat.
we need.
It's important. Well, so I missed most of the chat, but have anybody talked about the 40K Funko Pops yet?
We're gonna
Oh
get
my
there.
god.
We'll
What
get
Hit
there.
Fun Kill Pops? I bought all of them. Did you? I even bought the one that's not painted.
Yeah, the unpainted
no.
one. I have it right here. It's
Greg, we'll
here.
get there. We'll get there. We're talking about things that happened in 2019, like sort of community projects and things that we thought were, important and were exciting. And I had sort of, or we've been talking most recently about the 28 magazine and how it was like a cool release. And Captain Timberley in the chat mentioned that it's worth sort of appreciating how much effort kind of went into the magazine and such. And for a pretty small team, like I think it looks like really nice. I mean, particularly can say that James Sheriff, was sort of the lead designer in it, and he did a really great job of doing all the layout and the editing and the graphic design stuff. Was like a lot of work for one person to do all that. So it was really impressive. And I guess with that, Alex from Echoes of Imperium, he did a lot also for kind of getting a lot of the articles together and getting people to submit stuff and whatnot. And also Anna from Gardens of Hecate did a lot of editing and such, which, was also kind of a lot of work as well. So it was a pretty big effort. So great stuff. I guess, does anyone have any other things that stand out to them that they'd like to talk a little bit about?
I have a kind of hobby thing that was a 2019 hobby thing that was kind of inspired by all the stuff that you guys were just talking about. Because I haven't actually dove into the 28 mag yet, even though it sounds so good. But when you were talking about how, I think Vox was talking about how it kind of introduced the Ink 28 hobby and made it make a lot more sense. I wanted to call out a little podcast called Dragged into Turbolasers for doing that for me.
Oh yeah.
Because as the brothers know, I was very antagonistic towards Ink 28 before. I thought it was a big Blanchitsu circle jerk, and that no one was invited except for people who already knew everything about it. But from listening to you guys, from listening to your guys' podcasts, it made it a lot more interesting to me, and it made me realize that it's the side of the hobby that I'm interested in, which is converting and playing games, but not playing massive army games. Being hey, I followed theme very closely, or I did some crazy conversions because I was inspired by an idea instead of I did conversions because I want to smack you in the face with my models. So I wanted to compliment you guys on that, even if it seems like I'm blowing smoke up your backsides.
Thank you.
And I kind of have a two-part thing. My other hobby thing is, it hasn't really borne fruit yet, and I swear I'm going to stop talking about Kroot soon, but this plan to do this big Kroot team army at Adepticon, it was literally some guys on Instagram just posted on their thread, and they're like, who wants to make a big Kroot army? And I was just I've always loved Kroot. I've always wanted to do some Tyranid Hunter Kroot. So I kind of jumped on from that. So the guys behind the Kroot, this Siege of Petch. So Ironbeak, God, I can't remember the names. That Kroot guy, and I think it's Ironbeak Miniatures. Sorry, Ironbeak _mercenaries, and that .Kroot.guy. They were the real masterminds behind this, and it's still going to happen. It's happening in March at Adepticon, but I was really impressed by how they could just put a call out there. And it's not just, we have a squad of 4 of us who are working on all Kroot armies, but there's another squad of 4 other players who are also working on Kroot armies. So our goal is to have 8 full Kroot forces at Adepticon. And because
Who's sieging Peck?
Sorry?
Who's sieging Peck, and what's Peck?
Peck is the home world of the Kroot. I understand you don't know this
who's
because it's not Space Marines, but it's the home world of the Kroot, and the siege is from the Tyranids, of course.
Oh yeah.
I can't read, Nick.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but that's neat. I feel stuff like that again sort of highlights the notion that there's no shortage of people with cool ideas and things that they want to try and work on. And it's as easy. It's well, I'll say as easy, but it's as easy as like kind of just posting some of the stuff on like Facebook or Instagram and like kind of just asking if there are people interested in like working on a project. And like you can find people out there who are excited or just as excited about the stuff as you are, and you can like.
I think Instagram in particular has made things a lot easier in the sense that you can post your own stuff, you can follow other people that you think their stuff's cool, and then if you see something that you really like, you can just directly message the creators on that app. Yeah. Rather than like, do they have a blog? Is there an email address somewhere? Like you can just like, what's their real name on Facebook? Maybe I can find them. Like you don't have to do that. You can just message them directly. And I think that helps a lot. And it makes it such that you can like talk to some of like the people that have really inspired you over the years or whatnot. And in general, I would really encourage people just to do that because a lot of these sorts of narrative events and things were sort of formed from, just that sort of interaction. So it's really worth doing. Yeah.
The other random observation I wanted to make is that a lot of people really love Kroot. Like,
they are awesome.
Kroot are great.
There's so many people who have just like commented, been like, "Oh my god, I love Kroot! Oh, like I'm so glad people are doing Kroot. Like Kroot need more love. Kroot are the best." And so it's kind of like energized a section of the community, which I like.
Well, GW certainly loves Kroot with those great kill team rules.
Oh my god, they're such trash.
But at least they made a new Kroot model from Blackstone.
That was cool. That was really
great. He's one of the best models, I think, in the set. So
they did make one. Yeah, so that's impressive. It's good. Yeah, hopefully more in the future.
See, Kroot players get love.
They do.
They're getting heaps of love from games.
It's true. It's true. Well, so maybe we want to move to the next section of our like hobby ramblings, and I think we wanted to talk about some of our favorite releases of the year, model-wise.
Yeah, and I don't know if anyone. It's kind of hard to go back and figure out all the stuff GW releases. They often around this time have like a.
Someone made a list.
I made notes.
Oh my god.
I made notes. I have notes.
Wow.
Yeah, oh, that's pretty impressive. But my guess is like literally tomorrow, the Warhammer community page will put up their like annual thing. Like, look at all these releases each month, and it's just like, and Mr. Pink, you spent all this time putting it all together.
Yeah, it's gonna be on the
Forgeworld did that
page
recently.
tomorrow, probably.
Forgeworld did that recently. It was awful.
Forge World did do that on the community site.
So
everything in it was bad.
Well, so Mr. Pink, you actually spent time with this. Like, can you quickly run down what some of like the releases were before we kind of dive into what stuff we particularly liked?
Or particularly did not like.
Oh yeah, I mean there'll be some of that, obviously.
So you guys, you just mentioned like the Forge World releases. My brother actually messaged me and he's like, if you're going to be on the podcast, can you please talk about the Forge World releases? I'm like, no, I'm not going to talk about the Forge World releases. Okay, so I'm just going to like kind of do this quick. So just to give people an idea of all that was released in 2019, because a crazy amount of stuff was released. This is not an exhaustive list. I'm not going to talk about everything, but very quickly, Gloomspite Gits, both the goblins and their amazing trolls. There was a Kill Team expansion, Admech versus Genestealer Cult with the guy with the 3 guns. And the Shadespire Malog's Mob came out. That was that really cool like troll guy with all his little like mushroom friends.
Fungus stuff,
Yeah.
February, the only thing anyone should care about, Genestealer Cult, of course, was released.
Yeah, it's true.
Huge release, very surprising. That was also when Severina Rain came out, the Black Library model. That really nice.
She's cool. Yeah.
February also saw the release of the dreaded Ambull.
Hell yeah.
And then followed up in March by the Ambot, the Necromunda robot thing. Shadows, your very favorite battle box Shadows pair came out in March.
Good old Shadows pair.
And with that, we got new Chaos Marines, we got new Havocs. Did we get new Terminators? I think.
Yeah.
Chaos
We
You
did.
got Obliterators, didn't you?
Obliterators.
They
yeah.
haven't been released separately. They're only part of Shadow's Pair.
No.
Abaddon came out in March. That was friggin' cool.
That was
Mhm.
cool.
April, I have Age of Sigmar Forbidden Power. Nobody cares about Age of Sigmar. Heat Knights of Slanesh came out, and the new Keeper of Secrets, which was a big deal.
That was a big
Mhm.
deal. Yeah.
Great
Um,
model.
In May, we had the Loon Curse box for Age of Sigmar, which had that really cool Sylvaneth guy with the wings.
Oh yeah, he's cool. Yeah, with the insect on his back and stuff. Yeah.
We got Greg's favorite release, the Funko Pop Marine, came out in May.
It's true.
Yeah.
We got some Blood Bowl Halflings, which I still think have the best faces in all
They're
of Warhammer.
good. Yeah, they're really characterful.
We got Cal, Jericho, and Scabs, who are way too stumpy. Those guys need
Oh,
some
yeah.
Oh my
thorax
God.
and leg
It's
support.
bad. Yeah.
June was a huge release with contrast paints, which were supposed to change everyone's life forever. And they are cool. They are different. I don't know if they
Yeah.
revolutionized the hobby, but maybe. July, we had Apocalypse re-released. None of us have that many
Who
miniatures.
gives a shit about that?
That happened. What?
Chaos Knight came out in July, the Chaos
Mhm.
Titan Knight Titan. That was really cool.
Yeah, somehow
Um,
they didn't make it more over the top and turn it into a fleshy mass.
It was
it's
damn
actually
good.
cool. It's really
Yeah, that's
good.
a good model.
Yeah. August, we got Warcry, which is huge. That's
Mhm.
it's Warcry, but we got all the gangs or all the war bands were released within a month of the release. Which
Yeah.
is
They
crazy.
released them really quickly. At least
Yeah.
most of them.
I always thought they
That
were
was just in
Palatine.
August.
That was August. Yeah. It feels like this is the thing. So much crap came out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were the Palatine Enforcers, but apparently the Palanite Enforcers for Necromunda came out in
wow.
August.
Mm-hmm.
Aeronautica Imperialis.
Who plays that?
Me, I played that
Yeah,
game.
that's a whiff.
I actually played that. It's
Yeah.
one of the only things I played. I assembled the whole box.
My
Holy crap.
goodness.
People played 2 games of that in my local store. I didn't see it again after that.
That's still
Yeah,
pretty
well.
good. You played it. It's good.
I played it. All right,
Okay,
continue.
we also got there was a new Kill Team box released, but I think it was just pretty much the same Tau and Space Marine, Space Wolf models, but maybe with a character.
Mhm.
New Space Marine Codex came out in August because we definitely needed that.
Oh yeah.
That came with your guys' favorite Primaris model, Tigris, Chief Librarian. What's his face?
Fucking
So good.
So good.
Also, the Invictor Warsuit, which I didn't actually know the name of until Vox said it in our chat.
Yeah, I mean, you
That's
the names.
The stealth dreadnought with the big giant heavy bolter holster.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And a full Space Marine inside it instead of eschewing all.
Yeah. And along with that came the Hover Rhino, the pickup truck Rhino. I don't know what that thing's called, but it's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
No one knows.
The Repulsor? No, the Repulsor was the old one.
Yeah, that's the one, isn't it?
Nah,
Wasn't
that's
it like
the
Impulse?
first floating tank.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They
Impulsor?
all look the same.
Impulsor. It's an impulsor. You're right.
Oh my god.
August was also when we had the Ever Chosen contest.
Yeah, that was neat. That was cool.
Yeah. Blackstone Escalation came out, which I think Vox bought for 2 really cool pistols.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Worth it.
mhm.
$240 worth it.
Worth
Yeah.
it. Totally worth it.
September, we got Gotrek Gurnison, that really cool dwarf
Yeah.
Slayer model.
Oh, he's really good. Yeah, he's good.
In September, we also got a lot of black armored Space Marines with the Iron Hands and the Raven Guard.
Mhm.
More Space Marines and smaller Codex books.
Smaller
Oh,
Codex
yeah.
books, and the Emo guy standing on the pile of rubble.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The Vanguard Space Marines also came out in Shadow's Pair, but I don't know if they were.
You're right.
mentioned.
Yeah, they were released around that time. It was the Vanguard dudes, the sniper dudes, and the scout dudes that aren't scouts.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Beastgrave came out. If people are playing Shadows, the other thing, what's that thing called?
Shadespire.
Shadespire, I think.
Yeah.
It's called Warhammer Underworlds, people.
All right.
I need to be pedantic here.
I think there were some
Hey,
other
man,
releases
a
coming up
little.
that I missed. And if you didn't get enough Space Marines in August, you got Salamanders and Iron Fists in September.
Mm-hmm.
In October, the Bandai Space Marine pre-order. I don't know if that counts because apparently it's not coming out till next year or something.
Yeah,
I bought
yeah.
that. I bought that.
Oh, nice.
Well, yeah. So actually, the reason we bought that is because we're hopefully going to use it as a pictorial reference to make fun of some of the posing on some of the Games Workshop models.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay.
It'll be a good.
It'll
be a
be
good
a
visual
mascot
representation. Yeah, it'll probably be a mascot
it was
for
a
the stream. Yeah.
So it was a spite purchase.
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Aren't all your purchases spite purchases?
Oh,
Well,
Only
no,
Greg.
I mean, I bought 3 copies of that Forge World Dark Angel model.
Sure, you also bought 5 boxes of Hell Blasters because you love them so much.
I didn't do that.
Those are too bad to even troll about.
They're so bad.
Okay, and then like I have October, but then it kind of devolves, and I don't know when all these things came out. But there's Psychic Awakening 1, Phoenix Rising, nothing to do with X-Men, unfortunately. That came with new Jane Czar, new Banshees, new Drazar, new Incubi, which is a big deal.
Mhm.
The OCR Bone Nids came out in October.
They did.
New Tyranids.
New Tyranids, yeah. New Eldar as well.
Burn Eldar. Yep.
And then Psychic Awakening 2 came out.
Electric Boogaloo.
Salt and Pepper, something like that.
Which didn't come with Space Marines, surprisingly.
It came with Space-
Like Templars at all.
Oh, right.
It's got some solid rules though for Space Marines.
Obviously.
And then we got Zone Mortalis, which is a big deal. The whole like Necromunda giant box that no one can afford. With
Yeah, it's
Corpse
great.
Walkers, some Shield Palanite Enforcers.
Mhm.
And then I kind of gave up Sisters of Battle. Woo!
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
STDs, otherwise known as Servants to Darkness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Woo.
the Red Gobbo.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
cool.
It's true.
I bought him.
Also,
That
the
was 2019.
Christmas Dwarf
Christmas
Oh, yeah.
Brindle.
Oh,
Chris-
yeah.
Yeah,
Dark white-
that's the
White
thing.
Dwarf. Tech guy.
The White Dwarf is back in Tech Marine form.
Yeah.
It's true.
Those models are just so good.
What's the
Yeah,
deal with
it's
the
weird.
goblin? The goblin with the new tech priest white dwarf.
Oh, he's the
It's the lobotomer.
black Gobbo.
Is it?
He's like
October?
he's the adversary of White Dwarf from like 10 years ago in the magazines.
Yeah, is he
Yeah.
the lobotomized
Black-
version of the poor black Gobo? I liked
Yep.
him. He was great. That's sad.
It is sad.
He's the best part of the model.
Maybe I'll use his power fist to smash the White Dwarf's face in.
Maybe he
No.
will enjoy life as a servitor.
Maybe.
So
Well,
what are
thought
people's
about that
favorite
model.
models?
yeah. Well, Mr. Pink, you spent all this time and all that effort to collate all that information. What were you excited about? Like, what stood out the most for you?
It might not be what you expected, but it's a two-parter. I really liked the Amble and the Ambot, and I think
Oh,
that's like,
such good releases.
it's such a good example of Games Workshop going like way, 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 way back to like the dawn age of their miniatures, and giving new life to these miniatures that like do people know what an Amble looks like? I was fortunate enough to in the tournament, the one tournament I've ever played in, they had like Ambles as like on the board just as like weird encounters, and they actually had the original Ambles, but I had never seen one outside of pictures before that. And it's just so cool that they resuscitated this model from way back when and have reintroduced it in like two really cool forms, both the monster version that you get from Blackstone Fortress, but also this really cool robot that you didn't need to make for Necromunda, but they did, and like now every orc player in the world is
Yep.
I love
It is true. Yeah, I feel Blackstone Fortress in general was like a great release and is an awesome opportunity for them to make interesting characters, odd Xenos races that have been in since like Rogue Trader, like the Amble, and bring new life to them. And like, the Amble's a great looking model, and I have it. I actually played Blackstone Fortress. The whole thing. Well, not the new escalation or whatever it's called, but yeah, no. So it's certainly a good release.
Pius Vaughn was my first model in years.
Yeah, Pius Vaughn's it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Vox, yeah, is there something that stands out for you?
Yeah, I mean, maybe kind of obviously, the Sisters of Battlebox was far and away my favorite release of the year. I'm pretty happy and lucky to have scored one of them. That's pretty cool. Specifically in the box, though, I really love the new Arco Flagellants and the Repentiers. They are just great models. Like the Arco Flagellants, even in the 360 there, it's kind of hard to show how dynamic they look, and it's such a good update because, man, the old ones look so fucking bad. Like, Damien was really cool, and I think these capture the essence of him. Yeah, all around great update. The whole box is great. I'm really enjoying painting it. Quality is great. I know you guys got a bad box, but fortunately mine was pretty good.
That's good. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's been like a long time coming. They've been talking about it for like well over a year, I feel. And it's nice to actually see it finally done. And like, yeah, the models are good. Like, there are a lot of good conversion opportunities, like seeing, as you said, the Arcoflagellants redone and not those like dopey looking metal models, but actually ones that sort of call back to like that original concept from the Inquisitor role-playing game is really, really cool.
I'm so glad. Can I interject? I'm so glad they changed the Repentia, because holy crap, the old models, the BDSM sex club Repentia was so bad, and I hated them so much. And
they were embarrassing.
And the new ones, when they came out, when I said, oh, here's the Repentia thing, I was like crossing my fingers, and I saw them, and I was like, yes, these look so much better. Though some people had a complete shit fit about their old BDSM nuns going away, but I think the new ones are great.
Also, ridiculously, people are really mad that they're like buff and work out. They spend their whole life at war. Of course, they're going to be ripped.
Yeah, it's true.
People just want like cheesecakey, like misogynist garbage for models, and you know, I hope those people can be crybabies.
Go play Kingdom Death if you want to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, these models concept obviously is still kind of grimdark to the point of polarity, but the models are approached with quite a bit of like tact and finesse, which I think is really, really nice. It's great to see some female models that don't look either like ridiculously over-sexualized or just awful.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they didn't really know how to sculpt. I think probably the first female mentors the Games Workshop started doing that were any good were the Dark Eldar, and even you know, from them to here, seeing the differences in body types and age and ethnicity and stuff is really, really nice.
No, yeah, I think they did a pretty great job of sort of straddling the line between like honoring the old like kind of designs and some of John Blanche's designs, that sort of stuff, and the old models and such, but like modernizing them and not having them so like pin up cheesecake bullshit. Definitely. And I think that is refreshing, and I'm pretty excited to see in the new year like some of the additional releases. So yeah, good job, GW.
Yeah, no, very anticipated release, and they handled it pretty darn well. And like, yeah, I feel coming into some of the like the Repentas and all that other stuff, it's like I was secretly hoping they'd just get rid of them, because like I wasn't sure they'd make them into something that you could actually think was cool, and they did a good job with it.
What about you, Eli? What stands out to you?
Honestly, I will say that my surprise about the Repentia, not to jump on the train, was probably the biggest one of the year. And I'm pretty sure I like owe somebody like I'm gonna eat a boot if they make, you know, these models not the shittiest models I've ever seen this year. They nailed them so well. Like there are numerous of like the heads that like just look just like the Adrian Smith art, which is in my opinion the best like picture of the the Ordo Sororitas out there. And those are the models like as far as like the lore, like the Repentia and Arcoflagellants have always been my favorite. And I've just been waiting for Games Workshop to like treat the Sisters of Battle the way that like Fantasy Flight games did, where they're like absolutely horrifying because they're literally insane. Like like in Fantasy Flight games, like your characters like as you get crazier and crazier, you develop immunity to fear because you're fucking crazy, and like of course you're not afraid of you're a lunatic. You're not sane. You're unhinged, and that comes with a whole lot of other problems. But the Sisters of Battle characters were amazing because, like, the more insane you got, the more absolute, just horrifying they became. Where like they could just get wounded horribly, but they're just like, my faith in the Emperor will keep me from dying. No, you're bleeding out. But I don't know, like them redoing the Sisters of Battle, they really captured some of the wonderful stuff that has been lacking since I've been in the hobby. Yeah. That Fantasy Flight games just absolutely captured. So yeah, the Repentia were probably my favorites. But listening to like Mr. Pink name all the things that were listed or came out this year, it's like holy shit. August feels like it was last year. So
it's true.
After the Repentia, the Unmade are easily my next pick. The Unmade were such a good, gnarly chaos group.
Cordell, anything you'd like to mention?
So the Abaddon re-release, because I know everyone had wanted, along with the Sisters of Battle, everyone was like, the old Abaddon, the squat metal model, terrible. The new one showed that GW can actually get a Terminator right. And it was incredible. The kit was great. Of course, I didn't build him as Abaddon. I built him as something completely different. But
you built him as a goose.
I didn't build him as a goose. I also did a Black Shield Terminator Lord from him. But,
the goose was secondary.
Okay, Cordell, you do everything I love, and I just for some reason don't ever remember that it's yours.
That
thing blew me away. Where the hell is it?
Here's one of them.
Oh no, I got it. Yes. I love that guy that you did. Oh my god. You inspired me. I'm like, I need to go and buy a Space Marine and do this.
Oh, I'm so pleased. Whenever you comment on any of my Space Marine stuff, I'm like,
you've made it.
It's like it must be pretty good if
oh god,
the Universal Space Marine hater.
But my second model that I was really impressed with when I got my hands on was the Catacross kit. The big Prometheus engineer. That kit
the Bone Reaper dude.
It's lovely. Like, I'm not too fussed about his little attendants, but the big Prometheus engineer dude, it's a phenomenal kit. Absolutely stunning. Like, really, really nice details, and I just love it.
Yeah, it's really great. And I feel both of those models, to me, like the anatomy and such in there, like is so good, and it's interesting because it's like kind of at odds with the rest of the range. Like Abaddon was like, he was one of the first, or Abaddon was one of the first Black Legion new models they showed, and it's like, oh my god, like GW, like actually decided to think about the anatomy of a Terminator and show the world that like the Terminators don't have to be a squat, awkward mess. But then they went and released the other Black Legion Terminators, and they are just like the old shitty proportions. But at least it shows that Games Workshop realizes that things could be better.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it's like as you did, like it's a great base to like make a cool conversion. Like, I mean, Kiri made a cool Terminator conversion for his Red Corsairs too with it, and like so I feel it's a great model to actually like experiment with making Terminators that aren't so awkward.
Yeah.
So that's certainly a big plus.
I think
the
when you're
fact
done
that
with
they
your crew, oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. I was just going to say the fact that they the whole body under the armor and everything as well is so awesome to be able to see how Terminator armor realistically comes together and goes over a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was a great touch. Great touch.
I just want to say, I think other Nick should do. My challenge for him in 2020 is to. I want to see him do an Abaddon conversion using Abaddon as a base, because I know he hates Space Marines, but I'd love to see his take on a proper Terminator.
I hate Space Marines. I don't hate Chaos Space Marines though. Chaos
Okay,
Space Marines are actually interesting.
Oh yeah,
But oh, you bastard! I got to do it.
We all should do it. 2020 resolution. The
Yeah.
that would actually be a
Especially
really cool
Greg.
idea.
Yeah,
I will-
especially.
Fuck, I'm not doing that.
Should be Abaddon.
Everyone buys Abaddon, and then we all have like a convocation of Abaddons or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
conversions from Abaddon on the blog. It works.
That would be
That'd be
cool.
pretty cool.
Wait, aren't we
That
supposed to
seemed
be
like a
doing
good idea.
Bone Boys?
Yeah, well,
That's
the Bone
true.
Reaper
Our
thing
Bone
is the
Boys? Where are my
first
Bone
thing we
Boys?
have to do. That's gonna happen first.
Bone Reaper is the entree.
Yeah.
Abaddon is the main course.
Yeah. Well, actually, toward that end, Greg, what do you think? What model stood out to you? And don't say that Forge World shit. Just because you bought it doesn't mean you like it.
I don't even know. I don't remember what came out, and you just
Dude, you were here when I read the
you
list.
just listed it all. Like there's so much stuff.
Greg, what was your
Yeah.
favorite metal album that came out this year?
well, I'll
Better
help you,
damn
Greg.
well
You
be
probably like-
Fear Inoculum.
It can't be Tool.
That's not metal.
Was it Caligula by Lignor Ignota?
I mean, that's superb. That's superb. I don't even know though. Like Caligula, I feel is kind of like a combination of like some classical singing and some industrial and a little bit of metal. Like it's its own thing, I feel.
Blood Incantation.
I mean, that Blood Incantation record's great. But Adam's putting up something. So these little goblins, did they come out this year?
Yeah, so that I think was
I
maybe
love
my
that.
favorite, which is
Very
interesting to like some of my like most of my favorite releases from Games Workshop this year were Age of Sigmar, surprisingly.
Yeah,
like
They're
I
really
think
good.
it's great to see them do some goblins and to kind of realize that like, oh, if they're gonna do like the night goblins, like they can kind of really go full bore and sort of some of the wacky, crazy stuff associated with them. And it was just really nice to see them do that and just make a bunch of great little awkward goblins with all these mushrooms and mushroom bats and little frogs and all sorts of stuff. Like, I think, I don't know, it just really excited me to see them. And I feel they also are nice things for interesting conversions and whatnot, like the squig hoppers, the little night ones, like just so much great stuff. So I think that to me is one of the standouts to me.
Yeah,
The Squig Hoppers. I just thought of. Is it? I call him Colonel. What are we supposed to call him?
That's what I
KO3.
call him.
He took that. He took that Squig Hopper helmet and he stuck it on like a human, and it was amazing.
It's
He
so
made this
good.
like hunter dude.
Mhm.
Everyone is doing that now. I've seen like 10 other conversions.
Everyone's doing
Yeah.
it.
The helmet now.
Well, isn't that
I
what
might do it too.
This dude?
Yeah.
Nick, you're
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
my-
you did it.
you're
Yeah,
devouring saint. Like,
part of it. Like it's great. But yeah, so like, and well, I mean, yeah, just I think the Age of Sigmar thing was like really pretty impressive because like there was some great Slanesh stuff, like the Keeper of Secrets, this Demon Prince guy that wasn't just a fleshy mass, like, and it was a different sort of Demon Prince. So like, really cool. really cool.
Hey, Tony Rask is watching from Sweden.
Hey, good to have you here. Good to have you here. Yeah, but so yeah, I don't know. I like the goblins sort of have a place in my heart.
Yeah.
I guess Adam, do you have anything that you want to mention?
I love the unmade models are some of my favorite of the year, and I
Oh,
mean, a lot of that I feel is just from the fact in terms of like models and stuff that Games Workshop has released that are like human, like they have some of the best proportions of all of them. And I feel in terms if you want to convert like a cool like human warband, they're like perfect for that. They their feet are smaller, their hands are smaller than most of the like the GW models. They have torsos and abdomens.
Well, yeah, towards that end, like the Dark Text Gelida Chaos Warband that Portal you had mentioned, like a lot of them were based on these models, and that I think was helped make them so awesome because they're these great base models to have like reasonably proportioned humans. So
someone
really
on
nice.
Twitter did a really cool conversion with, because I'm not a big fan of the corpse grinder heads. Some of them are all right, but some of them are a bit odd. Someone replaced the corpse grinder heads with unmade heads, and they look so much better.
Oh,
That's a good
dang.
idea.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
And I guess on top of that, the proportions of like the humans themselves are better, but then also like all their little weapons and stuff, while I would still contend they're a little big for the models, they're still a lot smaller than most of the GW weapons and stuff, and like they themselves would work really well on like tons of other Games Workshop models.
Yeah, so they're great. And actually, Captain Timberley mentions a great thing, kind of going on the lines of just Warcry having some great models. At least I think he's suggesting that the Furies, the plastic Furies that they put in the starter box set are like so nice and kind of creepy looking. That like Furies have been like a sort of a staple element of Chaos for so long, and like the models are basically always garbage.
They were garbage.
And like these new ones are really nice and good for interesting conversions and such, and just to finally have nice Furies, like really great.
And one thing that I should also say, even within the different Warcry warbands, like even within like the different unmade models, like they're actually the different models are actually different in size. Some are smaller and larger than others, and so that sort of also shows they're playing around a little bit more, even within a unit itself. With like,
You mean like the rank and file, Adam? Like,
Yeah.
like there'll be 5 troopers and they'll all be different sizes?
like so I think some of them in this case, like maybe they were trying to make like some that were male and some that are female, but they're noticeably different in size.
Nice.
And like at least for me, like some of them, like the ones that are a little smaller, their proportions look even better because their feet are a little smaller and everything, and that sort of
like the
fits to my style.
Naruto pose unmade model is a fair bit smaller than some of them. Like, and yeah, so I think that's neat that they don't have to have every rank and file model be identical in size. I mean, it obviously makes sense. It's easier to produce that. But for something like Warcry or like a skirmish sort of game, like there is certainly opportunity that they can vary some of that. And it kind of goes along with this idea with the Sisters of Battle having different ages, ethnicities, like body types, like all that stuff, I think makes the world seem more like lived in and real, and it has a lot of nice conversion opportunities too. So yeah, really good. Really
I like
good.
that Slanesh Demon Prince.
Oh yes.
Oh, he was great. Zaleski.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. Well, we already looked at a model that Nick T like converted out of it, but just the Demon Prince model by itself, unconverted, like I think it does a good job of portraying what Slanesh is without being the stereotypical, all right, let's have some tits hanging out and like a bull head or some shit.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he's
it
really
is
cool.
true.
I remember when I
Demon
first saw the
Prince.
model, I was hoping he'd be like smaller, so it could be used for like lots of other conversions because he's super cool. But he's huge, huge.
I just
King
remembered that
Xerxes
I
from
started
300.
to build Keeper of Secrets at one point this year.
What about
What was
the
that,
Keeper
Eli?
sequence?
At one point in time, I was also working on scratch building a Keeper of Secrets.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Yeah.
More
Were you doing the
project.
thing where you were working on it right before it came out?
Yeah.
Shit, I might have been, or maybe it already came out, and I was just like, I'll make my own, with blackjack and hookers. Forget the blackjack.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Cordal, the Chaos Start collecting box that you just got, does that have female heads in it, or so
It
Captain
does.
Kimberly
I haven't
meant
found. I think that there's a couple of female heads in there. It's a really nice kit actually. So I haven't found them all, but I think there's a few. There's one with like a nose ring, and I think there's another one somewhere in there, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, because I feel that even goes back to the fact that Age of Sigmar, they had even though I don't really play it much and I'm more interested in 40K, it's a really strong year because to see them make these new Chaos Warriors and they didn't go really over the top with them and kept sort of the older great aesthetic, but just added some interesting poses, different faces and such, really nice.
Yeah,
Really nice. Well, maybe we can move into just the last element of this podcast because it's already been going on for a little while. But and just talk about, do people have goals or something they're excited to do in 2020? I mean, certainly, I feel we probably all have all sorts of things we'd want to do. But if every person has just something that they would one thing that they would really like to focus on?
I would like to paint a single model.
You can do it, Greg.
Goal.
You can do it.
Abaddon.
Yes.
No, I can't do that.
That's
I
okay.
have to work to that.
Paint a bugbear.
That would
Yes.
be
An
sick.
owlbear?
That would
A
be
bugbear.
better.
You already did the owlbear. I don't want another owlbear. I want a bugbear.
Oh, man.
I feel in general, a very general thing, I want to try and do some more collaborative projects with other people, maybe build models and send them to other people. Part of the reason the conversion corner thing that we started on the blog, one of the other aspects of that is we wanted to take some of those models and just send them to people to paint them or do what they want with them. And I've done a little bit of that, but I feel I want to do more of that in the coming year.
Definitely done a little bit of that.
Oh yeah.
This is what I want to do this year. I want to paint this friggin' model and send it back to you. I'm gonna go prime him right now.
Yeah, the Depth Shroud dude.
Oh my god.
There's the can.
Absolute
The
mad
can.
lad.
And everything.
I'll be back. I'll be listening.
Okay.
No, but I feel the more collaborative projects and stuff that we can be a part of, the better. Even if it's just making a model or two. I feel my favorite aspect of the hobby now is very much just interacting with the community at large and working with other hobbyists with similar mindsets and stuff.
Bone Boys 2020 into Eldar.
Yeah, I mean, that's
it's
probably
true.
one of the big things we'll be doing. I feel at the start of next year, we'll have a post on the blog about that. And we still haven't sent out many of the models. We have them all here, but probably after the crazy holiday rush, shipping rush and stuff is over, it'd probably be better. And it would also give me time to like actually convert something with the models too.
Yes, Mandarin Shade mentions in the chat that like he'd like to be more productive, but as is often the case, that like have so many ideas floating around that it's hard to like, commit to something and like put your like nose to the grindstone and such. But like I feel just having an honest conversation with yourself about stuff you'd like to prioritize and do can be helpful.
Yeah.
And
Or
I guess
trying to set some deadlines and stuff.
that is certainly helps. I feel one of the things that I would like to do, like since I've already started to paint some like Anna's Kickstarter models and some of those weird little things, I would like to keep adding to that over the years. Just like maybe every month or so, just get like a random interesting oddity like miniature and just like paint them to fit that in. And like it's thus far it's been a nice way to just kind of experiment with different painting techniques and not feel like, oh, I have to spend hours and hours and hours, and just see what I can learn. So I want to do a little bit more of that.
Yeah. Well, let's hear from some of the other people here. Any thoughts, plans, hopes?
So, if I'll jump in, I have 3 main projects for the next year. So, I'm part of a collaborative sort of world building and storytelling army building thing called the Augustine Crusade. So we're charting the history of like a fictional crusade in the late 42nd millennium. And how that progresses, and we've each got like a different regiment. We're going to produce antagonists as well, which I'm really excited. So I've resurrected my North Star Corporate Guard from the Iron Sleet Invitational, so I'm doing them.
Cool.
My second project is my Slaves to Darkness army, which is just like a really small one, because I just want to build that, start collecting kit. And the final one that I'm really excited about is I'm working on a Unification Wars project called Baraku, with a group of really cool hobbyists. So we're all doing like a period of early Unification Wars, and we're all building war bands for that, all in the search of this fabled artifact. So I'm really excited to get that sort of out into the world in 2020.
Yeah, no, that's good. Like that's a lot of projects you're working on, but judging from like all the stuff you did in 2019, like you will certainly be able to achieve that and probably a lot more.
Thank you.
Which is exciting. Eli, you've planned to finish that model that the tech priest guy you're working on?
I've been told that I pretty much need to finish it like by the end of the year. So
it's a noble goal.
It's a noble goal. Finishing that one, and then 3 more prior to Adepticon. That's pretty much like a hard, gotta have that done.
Yeah.
Start the year off right.
Yeah. And if I get that done, why not just try to get 2,000 points of Black Templar and my Legio Mortis done for Adeptus Titanicus? Just make it easy.
Yeah, just do it all, everything. 2020 is the year.
2020.
Juniper?
I have some I feel like maybe some kind of mundane ones. Obviously, I want to finish this Box of Sisters. I've kind of committed to not having too much Grey Plastic Shame, if any, if I can avoid it. Besides, obviously, this Blackstone Fortress box that just sits there now.
I mean, if you can finish painting all of those sisters in that box,
it'd be a triumph.
That's a triumph. I mean,
particularly at the standard that you've already set, like it will be great.
Yeah, I mean, I've got like 4 or 5 done now, including the Warhammer Days Sister Superior, and I've got 2 more underway. I've run out of primer now, so that's a roadblock because I don't have $30 for a can of spray paint right now.
Jeez.
Damn.
Yep. And then other than that, a little more long term, I kind of want to make, because my sisters are going to look so nice, maybe make a little diorama board for some braid or something cool.
That's a good idea.
And I had one other project in mind. I wanted to make a weird, fucked up body horror Skaven warband for Mordheim / Warcry. It was unmade or something. probably use unmade because those models are just fantastic.
They're so
Just
good.
something to keep me fresh and interested. Something completely different to what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those were my main 3 things that I would like to do.
Yeah, that
Can't go wrong
sounds
with
great.
body horror.
Yeah.
I love a body horror. Clan Mulder.
Yeah, well,
So awful.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Pink, it looks like you're already getting well on your way to make your one goal to paint that model. Like seems like you did prime the model.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, there
Well,
it
I
is.
black primed him before, but now he's like green and black. And
Okay,
we're
awesome.
on our way.
And I guess
Stream?
What was that?
Is this going to turn into a painting stream now?
God no.
Well, do you have any other like sort of hobby goals you want to do? Paint curtain?
Well,
I guess you
I have
you have to
Crude
do all
army.
your
finish the crude.
Yeah, crude army.
Yeah. Oh, well, I gotta do the crude for Adepticon, but I want to enter them in Armies on Parade, and for the Armies on Parade board, I want to create like a display board for them because for Adepticon, I think one of our teammates is going to make like a unified board that like all 4 of us slot into. But then I want to make my own board for them that's like kind of like very tree and jungly. And I have been told in no under certain terms by my wife that she will be helping me build the board because she gave me shit because I didn't get her to help me build my board when I did the Gene Stealer cult. And I was like, I didn't know you wanted to build a board. She's like, absolutely, come on.
She wanted to drink the cult aid.
How did you not know?
Yeah, so we're gonna do that together, which is gonna be fun.
Yeah,
That's
great.
awesome.
We need to play the thing at Adepticon. I'm just going to go ahead and call that right now.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
The board game, the thing.
Oh,
We need to play
nice.
that at
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we should.
I'm bringing
do that.
it.
I'd be doing down.
They made a board game of that? That's awesome.
It's so good. I'm very biased, but it's so good.
You know, I've always wanted to run an event. This is in Nick's crazy, like maybe in 5 years' time, would be to do a GM'd Space Hulk board game with an Imperial Guard, like cleanup crew. And then every so often they take someone aside and say, okay, your guy's infected. And you slowly have to try and like work out which of your guys is who is like this horrible body horror on this Space Hulk is. I don't know how you do it, but that's just one of my crazy ideas.
That would be fun.
Does anyone remember from years ago on White Dwarf, they did like an ice planet Death Lord with Skitarii and Tyranids, and there was like this huge horrible monster living inside one of the Skitarii and just like burst out in one of the campaigns. It ran over a few issues. I vividly remember it because it was one of the best things. But
That's awesome.
Wow, that does sound cool.
Really like
so
gory and bleak and grim. It was just so good. They like scratch built all these Tyranids to make them look like hunched, like they're living in ice tunnels. And
I want to see this.
It was so good. I have boxes of White Dwarfs 1,000 kilometers away from me right now. I'll have to dig through them and find it.
Yeah,
when I'm next
that
in
sounds
city.
cool. That sounds cool.
So good.
Well, I mean, I guess it seems like there's certainly lots of stuff that can be done, and I think we will all try to push each other to do in 2020. So it looks like it should be a good year.
It should be.
Well, I guess
was it the Lias Rift? I think I may have just found it.
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Death Lies Dormant or something?
Yeah, that's probably the one. And it'll be sweet Skitarii conversions and stuff too. They didn't really exist at that point in time as models, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, it looks really good. Oh, they converted that amazing Trigon.
Yes, yeah.
I remember this. Oh my god!
And like there was like a full like sort of like narrative battle campaign and everything. It was just great.
This was before the Skitarii were released. They converted them from Cadians,
like Guardsmen and stuff. Yeah.
What was it called?
Crap.
Again?
Okay, so if you look up the LAIUS Rift, I found it on it's on Imager.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce that. They've got like part 1, part 2, part 3. Someone's like scanned the pages.
Oh, I'm trying to look at this too. This is a throwback. This is something that I remember being incredibly inspiring to me at the time when it came out. One of the coolest things.
Like they're
I remember
showing
those
green
also-
stuff in White Dwarf. It's amazing.
It's so good,
That
right?
is awesome.
Oh shit! Look at that.
I remember way back in the day they did another one like of people's like insane Inquisitor conversions. It was like a demon host and like a weird sentinel and like yeah, there was some great stuff in White.
Yeah, shit, they do have green stuff conversions in a White Dwarf. That's incredible.
Oh my
Like,
god.
when was this?
It was a long time ago. It was 2005.
Like 2000 shit. That's
yeah.
so long.
October
ago.
2005.
You see this Lictor conversion of it being hunched over. I tried to do the same thing, but I was like 8 years old and just fucked it up.
Who made a pewter? That's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, fuck Peter. God, I hate
Yeah.
messing with Peter models.
Well, I don't want to
God,
touch
it's
anything except plastic anymore.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Holy cow.
Yeah, wow. This
Yeah,
looks-
wow,
that
it's-
looks
This was
really-
before the Trigon was released. Shit.
Damn. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Well, you learn something new every day, right?
Yeah, it's so good.
That's great.
This
Well-
Kurt Russell conversion.
Oh man.
Oh, there is that him? Oh my god, there's a Kurt Russell conversion.
Oh wait, I have to find that.
Jake
It's in part
Ruskin,
2.
he's called. Yeah.
Jake Ruskin.
That's
so good.
wonderful. That's wonderful.
And like the photography isn't amazing. Like it's good, but it's not
No.
amazing. But it's just everything else is so
It's
amazing.
real, you know. Everything's like so.
Yeah.
It feels like actual hobbyists doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Captain Timberley also mentions that it actually mentions mixing paints. Like you don't
does, yeah, it treats your
necessarily
paints.
have to.
Oh, there he is, Jake Ruskin. That's great.
Yeah, well, just it's cool. It's pretty cool.
Man.
So nice.
Yeah, I remember being really inspired by that Trigon conversion.
That Trigon is sick. That impressed me so much. I like these Ogren conversions. They're so.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, this was the best.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is great. Well, I guess.
I need to save this stuff.
Yeah, we certainly should. I guess with that, does anyone we might think of wrapping this episode of the podcast up. Does anyone have any kind of last words or something they'd like to say about 2019 or really anything for that matter?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, this is the first time getting back into a hobby. You guys' podcast and then your stream was a major in point for me to get involved and start taking this stuff. And it's just a really cool sort of wrap up to the year of being a part of where I started again. Being able to join you all here on the podcast and on the stream, it's just a cool feeling. It's really nice to have met so many awesome people, and obviously, Brothers Wire.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Yeah,
Thank
and it's great that you could be here, and I think it just sort of I feel that's the exciting part about just the community and the hobby in general, that there's so many kind of welcoming people that are just excited about the kind of the same thing and want to do cool things together. So yeah, it's great. Great
I feel
to have
like
you
I
a
would-
part of this.
Would have been nowhere near as involved and having discussions, chatting to all people like you without you guys. So yeah, thanks so much for all the work that you do for the community and everything. It's great.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah.
On that kind of note, do you guys want to set up like a big, from this podcast, like a slightly bigger Hangouts channel? Because it'd be really good just to kind of, because I found the Hangouts channel really good with the Weir brothers, and actually just having like a slightly bigger one with like a slightly more would be, I don't know, if people were up for that, I'd be definitely be game, and I think it'd be a really cool thing going into 2020.
Definitely. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have like a private chat with every one of us where it's like the three brothers and one of us?
I assume that they do.
Yeah.
I've
Lots of
watched this,
chats.
that it's like, oh, I would chat with one of my friends, but you can't chat with one of the Weir brothers. You have to chat with all.
All three of them.
Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
that's something that can be said. Like if you have someone that's like inspired you with their like miniatures or whatnot, and like they're on Instagram or anywhere, don't hesitate to reach out to them and like try and like chat and talk with them because you never really know where that
Like
could take you.
what's the worst that could happen? They could be a dick.
Yeah,
And then we
like
remove
ignore you and like whatnot, and like whatever
like-
that happens. But
And I guess if you reach out to somebody on Instagram, they might not be ignoring you. They might just
They
not.
might just
realize
not-
that there's
yeah.
a chat feature in Instagram.
That
Like
is
I
true.
remember the first time somebody sent me a message via Instagram, and it took like a week because I didn't realize that was even functionality in
Yep.
it.
Yeah, it is true. But I feel like with like all the Instagram stories and the chat features, there are a lot of things that I think people are like slowly becoming more aware of and using, and I think it's just getting easier and easier. So, and I guess with that in mind, Nick, I would just ultimately encourage anyone listening to this podcast or following the blog, like reach out to us. Like we'd be happy to collaborate with stuff or talk with you, answer questions, that sort of thing. I feel that's why we created the blog, have this podcast and all that stuff, because that's my favorite part about the hobby is like interacting with all the people involved in it. And I think that's ultimately, I think, a special element of this hobby as a whole, that like unlike a video game where like you can just sort of do it by yourself, and maybe even there's like the playing online and such, but at the end of the day, like this miniature hobby, at some point like you get to a point where you're like face to face with people, and there's that social element that I think is really neat. And the sort of creative aspects of it as well, and I think that makes it like a pretty neat hobby, and I think it's one of the reasons why it can be so engaging.
My 2019 final thought, I wanted to echo everyone else's thoughts and just say that thanks to you guys for your blog and for like the community that you kind of keep around yourself and your podcast. And I think it's a little bit ironic that I think a lot of people who might listen to Dragged Into Turbolasers for the first time and just get like a normal episode where you're tearing a new one out of the latest release, they could mistake you for very pessimistic people. But you're actually very optimistic and very positive, especially like with all this stuff around like the Inc. 28 community. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, certainly. And I feel that we've also, I think, would like to, that's maybe another thing we want to do in 2020 is to shift these episodes of the podcast to be more towards like interviews and interacting with people in the community, and keep our weekly stream that don't turn into the podcast. Just that's where more of the hobby bitching will be. So like we'll still do it at least to a point, because like there's always something to criticize.
Who've watched the podcast for a while, like as soon as a new release is shown, they have a good idea what we're gonna say about it.
Yeah, so I don't think we need to put that in these sort of official episodes, but if people are interested in hearing it, you can go to our YouTube channel between the Bolter and me and look at all the weekly streams, or on Twitch or whatever, and you can still hear that stuff. But I think it doesn't have to be in the official like podcast stuff. Yeah, because people know what our general criticisms.
Yeah.
We
Did
know
you
you
guys see
love
me-
Terminator.
Wait, what was that?
Did you see Meandering Shade's comment? I thought this was new, but maybe it's not. Thanks for all the hard work and reaching out and bringing disparate elements of the community together through your show.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
thanks, Meandering Shade. It's always good to have you here.
That's what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Slowly but surely.
Yeah. Well, so maybe we can call the podcast over and look forward to what comes next year.
Yeah, no. Onward to 2020. It should be another good year, and like ultimately, I'm just excited to continue to be involved in the hobby and interact with new people and just keep spreading kind of the hobby joy and that sort of thing. So
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thanks
thanks
so
for
much.
having. As always.
Thank you for having me.
yeah, happy to have you on, and like I'm sure in 2020 we can have some of you or all of you back on at different points to talk about models, or maybe you can also bitch about models with us.
Yeah.
Only
We
Space
didn't
Marines.
We didn't get to complain about Grimbendrol very much. He's so
it'll
bad.
happen. We'll talk more about it.
Yeah, we can talk.
Was that the dwarf tech priest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should get lots of them. I'll buy them. But to talk about getting all you on the podcast again, like we need that, because just the three of us, three people that sound the fucking same and aren't excitable, hardly change our inflection. Like we need other people on.
Yeah.
Happy to assist.
Yeah.
We definitely need more like big group chats too. That's
so fun.
I don't know.
They are
Very
fun.
big,
Yeah,
very big
so
fan of the big group chat.
We'll do more in the future.
Yeah.
I'll start the big hangouts group when I wake up in 3 hours.
Yeah, all right.
That's the Abaddon challenge. Get everyone to do the Abaddon challenge.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll actually
It's in
do
my
it.
shopping cart right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
It's
it.
happening.
The dwarf tech priest guy's in my shopping cart.
Oh no.
No,
Yeah.
Greg.
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna paint it. Unless that's gonna be your like one for next year,
of
dude.
course.
We know we
Greg
want.
only,
Shit, I'll call it 2. You paint that Gerblin, that's 2.
Greg only buys models to inflict on other people.
Yeah. That's largely true.
I need to inflict on Greg a intercessor with a big giant bolter that he needs to make into a hoverboard.
Walk through intercessor.
Maybe that would be a good goal.
Yeah.
Gotta do that.
Adam, can
kickflip.
you send him one of the Hellblasters?
I can do it.
There we go.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. It was a good time, and I guess we'll talk to you all again soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
I'll see you.
you. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right. So that's where the podcast will end, but we don't necessarily have to end this stream exactly now.
Well,
But
it's 6 in the
I need
morning.
to go to
I'm going to
bed.
go to bed.
I think most of us
Nick,
do need
you're not
to
going to bed.
Oh, we've been talking for like 3 hours now.
I would
It's
like
been
to
a
get
long
some
time.
sleep before tomorrow. So
I have
It's-
to be up early.
Nick, it's already tomorrow. It's been tomorrow since the
okay,
stream
well,
started.
I'm going to go to bed.
I haven't gotten to
It's been lovely
sleep yet.
speaking
This still
to you
counts as
all.
today.
Yeah.
It's still
Nick, what is today but yesterday's tomorrow?
Oh God, don't
Oh, my
please! I don't have the mental capacity right
Weapon
now. So
opens time, friends. Weapon opens time.
okay, I will speak to all you lovely people again soon when I set up the
Yeah.
big chat. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
all
It was
right,
Thanks.
nice to talk.
thanks,
Goodbye.
thanks
Yeah.
again. Bye.
There.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, everyone's gone.
Well, not everybody. It's just both Nicks. Eli,
Yeah.
I need to say again, your hair reminds me of Eraserhead, and
Yes,
It
Yeah,
really
does.
It's true.
I love that.
Thanks, man. I try to keep it nice and
Radiator
good.
song.
Whenever I know I'm going to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
In heaven, everything
right.
is fine.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah.
Real good. Real good.
Thanks for
Oh, meandering shade. Yep, 6 a.m. I'll be getting the kids ready for the school. for the school.
Literally minutes.
Yeah. No. Where's Meandering Shade at?
UK, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, he got up for
Man.
this as well. Oh my god.
Well, so he's
Okay, what time is it in Australia then?
It's a balmy 5 p.m.
That's
yeah, like
pretty
it's
good.
it is the best time for you, Juniper.
It seriously is. You guys you scream at like the perfect time. All through last year, I never had uni or placement on Wednesdays as well. So it was just like It's just so easy.
That's
Yeah,
great.
because the time we stream basically sucks for everybody else but you.
Yeah.
And I guess
Feel
maybe some U.S. people who
On, like, the
are
West
in
Coast.
California, where
Yeah,
then
it's
it's
pretty
maybe
late.
like 8 o'clock or something, which isn't bad.
Yeah,
When I had to explain to my coworker why you all streamed at the time you do, I was like, "Oh, well, Adam used to live in California, so this is
Yeah.
like the time. It's like kind of a meeting in the middle for them." And he was like, "Oh, okay. Wait, did you say he used to?" And I was like, "Yeah, like months ago."
Yeah.
And
a long time ago.
But
they
I
just
mean-
really like it.
Yeah, but I mean, even now though, like
Yeah,
it gives you some leeway. Like when you get home from work, you have time to do something, and you have time to maybe set up and get ready for the stream because God knows you didn't do that earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
still kind of like the time, but not if like it's planned to like talk for like 3+ hours or something. Then it maybe gets a little long. But like if it's
Yeah.
just for like an hour or something, it's pretty good. But yeah, so I don't know. It's hard, particularly when there's like this hobby is such like a global one. It is
Yeah.
hard to find. Like, there's never gonna be this perfect time where everyone can join because like there are people all over the place. And I mean that's certainly cool and it's neat to connect with people,
Meandering
but it does
Shade
make it hard.
has been listening to the stream while wrapping Christmas presents. That's great.
That is great.
It's a good time before all the kids get up.
I've been talking on this stream while next to a Christmas tree while all my cats are sleeping under it.
Well, that's nice. At least they're not like pushing it over.
It's pretty adorable. I can show
like
you.
eating all the plants.
Oh, there it is. There's the tree. That's nice.
That's Margot. She just doesn't want me talking. She's like, stop it.
Why aren't you asleep, Eli?
Yeah. You have to go to work. Did you lose your job? Am I going to starve?
It's like, no. It's just doing something more important than working, talking about Warhammer.
I'm talking about a little plastic bin. You know I like that.
It's important to me. It means a lot.
This is important. No, this was a very, very, very fun stream. Very, very much a fan of having a big group of people on there. And yeah,
great.
super like totes to you guys for your stream, like for how long you've been doing it and how many people you've gotten involved in the hobby because of it. It's real solid.
Yeah, I definitely
been fun.
wouldn't be here to this level without tuning into your streams and listening to the podcast, which I found it through like going through the entire backlog of Iron Sleet and finding your Red Athenum for Pilgrim.
Oh, really?
And then just going through that, and then I found your podcast through that. It's funny the ways that you find things.
Yeah,
Well-
is true.
Well, so for Nick or Cordal, Nick Truggeggio, we first encountered him. He posted stuff on the ammo bunker like 4 years ago or 3 years ago, and I used to comment on his like posts there, like encouraging him because he was doing some cool stuff, and I was one of the few people I felt that continually just kept saying stuff to him, and then like 3 years later, we started typing to him a lot, and at that point, I had forgotten that he was the person that I had been.
Oh my god,
the ammo bunker, and then
that's fun.
Then don't tell him that I had forgotten that was him, but like I eventually realized like, holy fuck, that was.
That's great.
Yeah, it's interesting how it ends up being kind of a small world for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that.
The entire reason that like I started sculpting was because of a Tyranid Dactylus conversion by Mr. Pink.
Yeah.
And it's real fucking weird now because it's just like now I'm just like chatting with this dude like in the DMs, and it's just like had a stream with him, and it's just like, oh, we're all being all like, oh, you know, community's all nice and close knit. And I'm just like, I don't want to bring that up because it seems a little too
Yeah.
personal. But I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. It's a very small world.
I had
Well, it's
another one. So the first army I ever got, or that I ever got into when I got into Warhammer was the Lizardmen, and the second
Mhm.
was Tau. And I tried to get him white. It was a fucking terrible idea. There was this white dwarf feature from this guy, Sebastian Stewart, with the website, and he was doing
yeah.
these really sick Tau conversions and like paint schemes and everything like that. I was like, whoa! And so I literally just like, when I was doing my Tau army, I was literally just trying to rip off everything that this guy was doing as like an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old. When he followed me on Instagram the other day, and I was like, "This is so weird." Like,
Yeah,
it's so cool. I obviously I didn't message him and tell him that, but it's just really funny seeing this guy and
yeah.
following at the website as like a kid, just worshiping what he was doing, and now he's like, "Oh, this hobbyist is cool. I'll just follow what she's doing over here now on Instagram." Just a funny experience.
Yeah, it's like now, like our blog is like 7 years old now, which is like hard for me to believe. But like back in the beginning, like we didn't really get too many comments, but like one of the very first like Inc. 28 posts we ever did, like 6 years ago, like no comments except for from Alex Winberg commented
Oh my
about
god!
this one Gorka Morka like conversion, that it was cool. And then
That's
years
awesome.
years later, I finally painted the model and gifted the model to him for his like Tormagito
Okay.
event. And then maybe like a few weeks later realized that he was the one that commented on the unpainted model about how I thought it was so cool.
he was like the
That's so
only
good.
person who commented about that model, and somehow it ended up. It's like we should send a model over there to that, and like it was that model. It's just
That's
like
so good.
weird.
Bookend.
Yeah,
The
weird.
hobby is so small.
Mhm.
It's so small.
Yeah, so
Like it's
again,
so global, but
anyone listening to this, don't hesitate to reach out and like try and comment and talk to like other fellow hobbyists and stuff. I feel most of the time they'll be happy to talk with you.
Yeah, because like I feel a lot of us will start just because the models are cool and it's fun to build them, paint them, all that sort of stuff. But like I feel, at least for me, like if you start interacting with the community more and such, like it gets like all the better. And I think that was something
Yeah.
that I think the blog has sort of taught us, that we were like, we should start a blog just to kind of track the stuff we're doing and try to keep excited about this stuff. Cause like, like in graduate school now, don't really have time to play and such. And I don't know if I would have really predicted it would have gone, the way it has, such that, like I'm more excited about the hobby than I feel I've ever been. And like, I think, I didn't really anticipate that. So
I feel like the sense of community and seeing what everyone else does like constantly is invigorating me and inspiring me to keep making stuff and like push the wave that I think about converting and then having people comment on my stuff and talking to you guys and being able to comment on other people's stuff as well. It just makes it so much more enjoyable and rewarding.
mm-hmm.
Actually, Sebastian Stewart, that's Eastern Empire, right?
Yeah,
The one
it
who
is.
does all the great goblin stuff as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen his goblin stuff. I'll have to look because
Alright,
this was when I was really little, right? And then I just completely forgot about the guy until he followed me on Instagram.
That's great. Also, at the end of the year, we always, or usually in January, we always write a post about for the past couple years, we wrote a post about like our favorite hobbyists or new hobbyists that we've started finding each year. And this year, or this past year, we wrote about him and his goblin stuff.
Oh, that's really cool. I'm gonna have to troll his Instagram more and see these goblins.
He has a lot of great goblins. Lots of
I
great
really want to make. You brought up those Gloomspite gets earlier. You know the one with like crawling on 4 legs and he has some extra
He's
legs
so
and
great.
a big like wicker bust on his back. I want to turn that guy into a Skaven guy and he's hoarding a bunch of warpstone. and he's
That would
dug
be
up from
neat.
Mordheim, and
That's
it's
a
all
good
and it's
idea.
fucked him up from just like the mutation elements.
Mm-hmm,
That'd be
mm-hmm.
real good.
Tony Rask, the notion of not finishing an NPC for Mordheim 2019. I certainly understand that notion. Like, I feel now more than ever, like, there are tons of different events and stuff that I had sort of a mind that I'd like to make models for to send to, but like ultimately it can be hard to find time to do everything or even anything really. So
But even if like you start to build stuff, like even if you didn't finish it, it's still probably like a fun kind of learning experience as you kind of try out some different things. So I still think it's still valuable, and like if you
yeah,
still created some of them, it could still be cool to like use it to play a game or two. So like I don't know, I think it's still always good.
I think just making for making's sake sometimes is really good too, not for a project or for an army or a warband.
Mhm.
Just just putting some stuff together
Mhm.
just feels good.
Agreed.
Get the
Agreed.
creative juices flowing.
Yeah. And Captain Timberley is commenting about not wanting to be part of the community. Now he regrets it. I totally get that. Like, for a minute, I was really like, man, I just need to find a group to play like Horse Heresy with, because like no one around me plays like 40K like the way that I would like to. This is all while still doing Inc. 28 stuff. And turns out if you just go and start playing with people, you actually end up meeting people who probably do want to play the same kind of game that you do, but you got to leave your house. You got to look for
Yep.
it. Don't like dig a hole and hide in it.
well, it's really
helps.
easy to convince yourself not to do something.
Yeah, like it was just like, man, I fucked up.
Almost as easy as it is to convince yourself to buy new models.
Exactly. Like I was about to just
Models
now
you
buy
were.
this new Abaddon.
I'm so hyped for this Abaddon challenge now. I actually want to do it. I'll make like a Black Templar model or something.
I feel we have at least one copy of the
We
model, right?
have one. Yeah, Eric, I think you bought it. I have it.
Well,
I
there
can
you
do something
go.
with
It's underway.
It's underway.
Yeah.
True.
Greg, what did you do with those 3 Dark Angels?
Yeah, whose coal did you put in whose stocking?
Hobby Vices.
Wasn't one was sent to Ho Hobby Vices.
Humorously, the person we sent that to was a big Space Wolf fan and asked for Space Wolf stuff. So it's just like, yeah, the Space Wolves love Dark Angels. They're best of pals. So
Oh yeah.
I wonder if they got it. I would hope they got it.
they did. They got it. They did.
I guess we probably still have the other 2.
We have the other 2, and there's still
Now, why
one.
did you buy 3 though?
He bought 3. There's one other one that someone still is going to get, and we haven't planned out exactly what is going to happen with it.
It's like Russian roulette.
Yeah.
Who's gonna end up with the misery package?
It's like, don't anger us.
You don't watch out. We're gonna send you a chibi Space Marine, and then we're gonna send you a Dark Angel freighter. It'll ruin your life.
Or maybe what the challenge should really be is we should make a challenge where we get one of these like kind of stupid models and then try and make it into something cool. Because
dude, I was thinking about that like earlier, and it was
That's
just
a cool
like,
idea.
Because you could do it.
Because not everything about it's terrible.
No,
It's just,
I
but
think-
like, it's just if they would have taken some of kind of the Primaris sensibilities, but like kept the armor type, the Mark III or whatever, like it would have been awesome, or it could have been awesome.
The aesthetic is really cool. It's just that the model sucks.
Yeah, I feel it's like they got halfway there, but then just sort of like phoned the rest in, and I feel that's what's just so disappointing about a bunch of the Forge World stuff, because like the people there's so much talent in the studio, and they've produced so many great things, and honestly are still producing some neat stuff, like some of the tanks and whatnot. But then like to see they're like, oh, we need another Horus Heresy release.
Yep.
Let's just do some CAD renders of some Space Marines. Like we won't
I think they're just burning it in.
Yeah, and
yeah.
I mean, I can understand. I can understand it to a point that they probably like their studio's already really stretched thin, doing all the specialist games and stuff, and like there probably isn't a huge amount of excitement to make another like let's make a Blood Angel like.
Well, that and
Why?
they dug the
Back in
hole
the-
so deep with the Horus Heresy. Like, if they made a model that looked normal like a Primaris Marine now, it would look not like anything else that they've
Oh
made.
yeah,
They've-
yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
it would
made so
ruin the
much-
continuity.
yeah. So
Sadly.
it's kind of a bad space.
Forge
Remember
Warrior,
Remember back in the
another big issue. with
remember back in the
Forge
day.
Warrior. You can talk. You can say whatever you were gonna do, Juniper.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, remember back in the day before they would change to the giant Horus Heresy rock, where they were like making up their own cool like supplements and ideas, like the Siege
Yeah.
of Vrax, and making their own cool
Mhm.
campaigns with like really awesome individual models, like those like Chaos Urgrins and the old Renegades. Like, so good. The Psychers that were putting out too.
Yeah, it was really
Everything
cool.
was so interesting and covered with so many little details. Like, it was clearly really well thought out.
They
Basically,
even made
cared
the
about the
Tau
prop.
models.
Yeah,
Tau,
those
amazing.
Tau was so
Yeah.
good. Like the old piranhas, the
Yeah,
manta. Why the heck?
Yeah,
As Captain Timberley says as well, like the newer models also have a huge lack of detail, and if there is any detailing, it's not. Most of the time, it's not really very well conceived or thought out, and it's not any nicer or more detailed than what they could have just achieved in a plastic model. Yeah,
But yeah, I guess as we sort of suggested, like the designers are sort of hamstrung. Like they have to keep those old bad anatomy designs, such that it's like be hard to make them great. I mean, they could still do some of the character models that they did were still pretty good. Like they
Yeah, the
Egan
Primarchs and
sculpted Loken and Abaddon, like Ezekiel Abaddon, were good. I mean, even though they still kind of have the bad anatomy, but at least they were okay.
Yeah. So, everybody, I think I need to go
Go
to
to
bed.
bed. Yeah.
Yeah, we should end this.
It's 1:20 in the morning.
It's really late. Not for you guys, not for me. Perfect time for me.
Yeah, but it was a good stream. It was fun, particularly nice. Actually, more putting a face to you, Juniper, and like actually talking. Like it was really fun.
Yeah, it was really great. I had a great time. It was really fun. Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
Next round of Sisters release, get me
Yeah.
on. Hopefully, I'm not at a
Good.
beach camping on vacation.
yep.
All right.
All right. Yep. See you, everybody.
Yep.
Well done,
Thanks
everyone.
thanks for listening.